Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto trained by Tsunade before Academy Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. The spy fled from the ANBU pursuing him. He knew that the masked operatives would catch him before long unless they were distracted somehow. His path took him over a yard with children playing. A school. Just perfect for a distraction, he pulled out several kunai with explosive tags and hurled them at different windows that had class in session. Naruto carried his few school possessions as the teacher led him to a new classroom. Failed a second time. I wish I could figure out how to do those stupid graduation jutsu. I did everything like Saito-sensei showed me and nothing worked. Maybe I am dead last like the other kids call me. Cheer up, Naruto. This class will be kids your own age this time instead of older ones like the first two, the teacher said with a half-hearted smile. Naruto looked up at the teacher, focusing for a moment on the large scar across the man's nose. I know, Irika-sensei. I just y-dash. The explosion threw a door across the hallway and crushed both Naruto and Irika into the wall. Irika had taken the brunt of the impact and slumped unconscious next to the stunned blonde boy. The shouts of children filled the halls as they panicked and bolted from classrooms or merely lay stunned and wounded from the multiple explosions. In the science lab, spilled chemicals for flash bombs mixed uncontrolled and exploded in a larger fashion. The fireball filled the nearby hallways, igniting anything that would burn and spread quickly. Most of the ANBU pursuing the fleeing spy reversed course to head back to the school. The one wearing a dog mask increased speed and growled as he closed in on the enemy who would hurt children. Naruto knew he needed to get out of the building. He looked at the man at his feet and back to the approaching flames. The teacher would die if Naruto just left. Naruto grabbed an arm and began dragging Irika to the nearest exit. Other children just ran past without helping and nearly tramped the pair. As the flames closed in at the door, Naruto got Irika into the open. The ANBU who had stopped as well as the teachers were directing Suiton jutsu at the flames, but the heat of burning gas and chemicals minimized their efforts. Naruto got sprayed with a light blast of water as he exited, and another teacher dragged Irika further from the building. Screams of terror sounded from the open door behind Naruto. Those are little kids, Naruto thought. Without a thought, he turned and ran back into the inferno. The classroom a few doors and had a burning desk blocking the door. A dozen children about 8 years old were trapped behind the flaming barricade. Naruto pushed the burning desk aside and let the children flee down the hallway. The blonde cringed in pain as the heat seared the flesh on his palms. One boy was huddled in the corner behind a burning joist. Naruto knew he could not move it enough to pull the cowering boy out. Kyuso, he cursed in his head as his burned hands painfully formed the hand seals for a kawarmi. The jutsu actually worked for a change, and Naruto found himself in the corner with the young boy free. Run! Get out of here, kid! Naruto yelled. The kid ran out, his strangely long scarf trailing behind. Naruto made the hand signs again and switched places with the desk, freeing himself. I got it to work twice in a row, sweet, the blonde grinned. He got past the small flames in the room to get to the teacher. The teacher lay with her leg at an unnatural angle. Naruto knew the woman was not dead, so he picked her up and carried her into the hallway. An ANBU took the woman from him and told him to get out of the building quickly. Another explosion rumbled from above. Naruto turned to follow the cloaked man when several kids his own age stumbled down the stairs. The dark-haired one led the way. His look of panic and the speed of his exit showed he cared little for the ones following him. Behind him came a pair of boys, one very plump and the other with a pineapple-shaped ponytail atop his head supporting a blonde girl. Another pair of boys came after along with a pink-haired girl. Where's Hinata? The pink-haired one cried out as another explosion rocked the building. Naruto shouted, just go, I'll get her. He ran up the stairs. The flames were even more intense on the second floor. Several fallen and burning joists littered the hallway and Naruto could see sky through the smoke above. Naruto looked into several classrooms as the smoke got thicker and the building made ominous creaking sounds. After a few minutes of searching, the pained whimpering of a girl could be heard amid the crackle of the flames. Naruto moved past several fallen timbers and found the girl. You must be Hinata, Naruto said quietly. The girl looked up at the blonde. Her pearl-colored eyes met his blue ones. Wow, she's beautiful, he thought. The girl whimpered in pain again. My leg is stuck. Naruto looked at the burning joist holding her leg. The leg itself was badly broken under the weight of the beam. Naruto saw that he could lift it, but it would mean getting burned even more. He pulled off his orange jacket and laid it over Hinata's face and upper body to shield her from the falling debris as well as the sight to come. Moving his body under the burning timber, he raised himself up against the beam. The sound and smell of flesh being burnt made Hinata cringe, but the weight lifted from her leg. She dragged herself away a few feet from the place she had been trapped but could get no further before passing out. Naruto saw Hinata was clear and began to lower the beam when his jaw felt like it exploded. A second kick then impacted his chest, crushing it against the flaming beam. Several of Naruto's ribs cracked under the impact. An axe kick hit his head and sent him to the ground. Naruto managed to look up at the man who had kicked him. Now I get to kill me a demon brat. The gray-haired teacher had several small burns on his body, but Naruto recognized Mizuki-sensei. Mizuki-sensei? Why? You might not remember it, but you are the monster that nearly destroyed the village 11 years ago. Naruto, you are the nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi no Yoko. Now you are going to die. Mizuki's rant was cut off with a gurgle as the dog-masked Anbu cut his throat from behind. Naruto just closed his eyes as blackness claimed him. The village council of Konoha was filled with shouts. The attack and fire at the school had killed 24 students, 5 teachers, and left dozens injured. Of the injured, 14 students still remained in the hospital. Only one remained with life-threatening injuries. The building itself had burned to the ground. The stories of what had happened were spreading faster than the truth. Sadly, it was the rumors that had brought many out to the council meeting tonight. It was rumored that a fire had been started by a certain blonde-haired boy. The Sandaime Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, sighed softly as the Anbu in the dog mask finished his report regarding the enemy ninja that really did the damage. The enemy was currently in the company of one Marino Ibiki. His death would be long and painful at Ibiki's hands. In the back of the room, a civilian stood up and yelled, "Why did you save that demon brat?" His rant was cut off as a kunai impacted his shoulder. If another person maligns Uzumaki Naruto like that again, I will not use a warning. The low voice of the Hokage seemed to echo across the chamber. That boy is a hero. Not only has his sacrifice protected this village from the day he was born, but yesterday he personally saved the lives of his teacher, the Hyuga heir, and a dozen first-year students, one of whom is my grandson. In doing that, he sustained life-threatening injuries as well as an assault on his person by a trusted member of the school staff. If he were a demon, he would have sat outside and watched, not been inside the inferno saving lives. Naruto truly has the will of fire that many in this village are lacking. I personally will question the loyalty of any who speaks against him without cause from this day onward. Murmurs from the crowd rose again as the Hokage walked out. In the hospital's intensive care ward, the blonde lay comatose on his stomach. The nurses came hourly to check on his condition and look over his burns. His hands had suffered badly with deep sores on the palms from the burning desk. His breath came labored as his ribs were still cracked from Mizuki's kick. The medics could not tape them as the burns on his back needed treatment. Even after several visits by the medic ninja, his back was an open wound. The skin has been seared and destroyed completely through down to the muscles in most places. It looked like skin grafts would be needed to repair the damage. Normal wounds like cuts, they still had the flesh intact to knit together. But with these burns, the tissue was completely destroyed. They were forced to make the body grow new muscle and skin. The best the medics had been able to do so far is regrow some skin along the edges, but this exhausted them after just minutes. Nearly a 6-inch wide band of flesh still remained to be healed. Even the legendary Tsunade would have trouble healing that wound quickly. Next to him sat a young girl. Hinata kept leaving her bed to come back to sit near him. The bulky cast on her leg had several markings from well-wishers already, but she paid little attention to the happy drawings. She only wanted to see those blue eyes open and look at her again. "You should really be getting some rest," Hinata said, a voice from behind her. Hinata looked to see the Hokage standing there. "Hi, Hokage-sama. I just want to see him get better. One of the nurses told me that the building collapsed less than a minute after Anbu-san carried us from the building. If this boy hadn't come for me, I would be dead right now. My cousin Niji had mentioned a blonde-haired boy in the academy. Who is he?" "His name is Uzumaki Naruto. He is a very special young man, Hinata. Tell you what, I will have the nurses tell you when he wakes up so you can get to know him better. He could use a person like you as a friend." The Hokage then signaled one of the nurses to return Hinata to her own room. Sarutobi stood there for long minutes after the nurse left with the girl. He just looked at the unmoving face of Naruto and hoped that the boy would wake soon. With all the energy Naruto normally had, seeing the boy motionless like this seemed unnatural. Naruto woke slowly to find himself in a dank sewer lit by a dim red light. The hot, heavy air did not really smell, but it seemed to move slightly. In the distance, he could hear breathing. Moving through the passages, eventually he came to an open area and saw a cage door rising up into the darkness. In the dark depths beyond the cage, he saw a set of eyes looking at him. "So, my jailer has decided to visit. How nice." "Jailer? What do you mean? Is this some kind of weird dream?" A deep rumbling chuckle sounded. "If only it were. Then I would be able to wake up from it. But this is no dream, boy. I am stuck here in this cage unless you free me from it. You just have to pull off that seal on the door, and you will never have to worry about anything ever again." Naruto noticed the seal on the cage door now. He moved closer to look at it before touching it. The touch tingled slightly, and the seal felt warm under his fingers. "That's it, boy. Now just rip it off of there. That will fix everything." Naruto stopped at the tone the voice was using. "This doesn't seem right. Just take it off the door, boy." Naruto backed up at the face of a snarling fox appeared around the eyes glaring at him. "I will not remain caged by a mere boy. I will be free of this to continue my wrath upon that worthless village." Naruto just shook his head and kept backing up from the beast in the cage. Then, turning down one of the passages, Naruto fled. Pain. Naruto opened his eyes again and only felt pain. His eyes cracked open to only see the floor. He lifted his head from the bracket it had been in and looked around. His back was in more pain than he could ever remember having. The time he had gotten beaten up by some bullies paled in comparison. He groaned softly as he tried to move. Bands seemed to hold down his arms and legs to keep him in place. The air moving across his bare back seemed to burn as it passed by. Another groan sounded as a nurse came up next to him. Naruto, you're in the hospital. You got badly injured in the fire at the school. Are you in a lot of pain? Naruto just nodded as the nurse adjusted something he could not see. The pain should go down some soon. I have to go tell some people you have woken up. Naruto opened again his eyes slowly and turned his head to look at his hands. They were bandaged tightly so he could not see the damage, but they hurt only slightly compared to his back. Soon a bustle of activity that he could not see was going on. The bed began to rise up at his head so he could see people, feet, then bodies, and finally faces. The smiling face of the Hokage was before him. Hey old man, how's it going? Sarutobi chuckled. Naruto, you seem to get into the worst trouble sometimes. You know me, old man, if you want to get recognized, get in trouble. Well, what do you remember before you got in here, Naruto? Naruto was very groggy from pain and medication, so he just stumbled along talking about the explosion, fire, and his activity during it. Then without pause he told about the sewer and the giant fox and seal. He called me his jailer, old man. What does that mean? He asked in a confused voice. The doctors and nurses in the room were all struck silent by what the boy had said. Most civilians believed he was simply the demon reincarnate with the power sealed away. The ninja-trained medics knew better but still feared the boy was controlled by the demon he imprisoned. Between the boy's actions a few days prior and what the boy had just said made a few begin to rethink their own views. Sarutobi sighed softly. I had hoped for a few more years to pass before you found out about this, Naruto. 11 years ago, on the day you were born, the village had been attacked by the Kyubi no Yoko, the nine-tailed demon fox. Yeah, the teachers at school talked about that. The fourth killed it but died beating it, Naruto said, glad he had paid attention to that detail. That is the official story, Naruto. The truth is even the fourth was not strong enough to kill the creature. No mortal can kill a demon that powerful. Instead, the fourth sealed the essence of the beast into a newborn baby. Naruto, he sealed the beast. Into me, didn't he? That is why the thing in the cage called me his jailer, isn't it? Yes, Naruto, it is. I am sorry. I wish we had been able to keep that information a secret when you were a baby, but somehow word got around. I had to ban all mention of the sealing from you, and all people are forbidden to speak of it. I wish they had treated you better, but even the power of a Hokage has limits. Naruto thought in silence for a few minutes before replying. Don't sweat it, old man. You did the best you could, I guess. That just means I have to work harder to get your job away from you. No demon fox is gonna stop me from being Hokage someday. Sarutobi chuckled at Naruto's comment. I think you just might make it with that attitude, Naruto. A muffled squeak sounded from the hallway as a wheelchair slid into view. Sarutobi looked and smiled again. Come in, Hinata. The dark-haired girl rolled into the room in a wheelchair, her leg wrapped in a cast. Naruto, you have met Hinata already, but let me introduce you officially. Naruto, meet Hyuga Hinata, heir to the Hyuga clan. Hinata, meet Uzumaki Naruto, legacy of the fourth and aspirant to the title of Hokage. Both preteens blushed at the formal introduction and murmured a hello at each other as Sarutobi walked out of the room to let them visit. How's the leg doing, Hinata? Naruto asked. It is healing fine, Naruto. The medics healed the burns and the bones but are waiting a few days for it to get stronger before taking off the cast. How is your back doing? It hurts a lot. The doctors gave me something that makes it hurt less, but it makes it hard to think. No big deal there since I can barely think anyway. Naruto gave a weak grin at his joke until he saw the sad look on Hinata's face. What's wrong, Hinata? You're too pretty to be looking so sad. Hinata bit her lip and tears began to run from her eyes. You should not have gotten hurt like this because of me. If I had not been so weak and gotten trapped, you would not have had to save me, she said in a rush. Naruto paled for a moment before getting upset and retorting, That's bullshit, Hinata. You're not weak because you got trapped. Anyone who says otherwise is full of it. When I found you, you were trying to get free. Your leg was broken and burnt, but you weren't crying then. That's not someone who's weak. That's someone who fights what happens to them. But I cannot even defeat my 6-year-old sister at taijutsu, Naruto. My father says that I am an embarrassment to the clan. I just cannot bring myself to strike her, she finished lamely. Having a kind heart is not a weakness, Hinata. The voice of Sarutobi said from behind the pair. It is the first step to having the will of fire. It is the will to protect those who are precious to you. You do not wish to harm someone precious to you. That is an admirable trait, not one to be suppressed. Hinata nodded slowly. She was not entirely believing the Hokage, but also not willing to contradict him. Naruto nodded as well, but his eyes were dropping and he rested his head back on the headrest under his forehead. You will see one day, Hinata. When you protect the people precious to you, the true power of a Konoha ninja is revealed. But for now, I think Naruto is fading on us. He has a battle of his own to fight over the next few weeks, and his strength is not at its best right now. May I sit here for a little longer with Naruto? The girl asked. For a little while, Hinata. But when the nurses say it is time to go, you listen. Even a Hokage cannot override them on that. Naruto's back healed slowly. The medics tried to take skin grafts from other places on his body, but the skin patches simply died after being applied over the burn. They were forced to heal the wound with chakra. With the skin destroyed, the medics had to continue to forcibly regrow the skin from the edges. It was painful for Naruto, and the time-consuming work drained even the strongest medic needs in minutes. At night, Naruto would dream of the cage and could hear a rumbling laughter. When Hinata was released from the hospital a week after the fire, there was still a 4-inch wide area across most of his back that was not healed yet. The pale-eyed girl said she would visit when she could, but she knew her father would never permit it. Propriety and appearance were more important than feelings to the Hyuga. The day after her release, Hinata was being woken early to family training. The doctors had said no sparring for another week, and even Hayashi knew enough not to push things. The clan medic had agreed with the diagnosis that overtaxing Hinata's leg would make the recovery time longer. That did not keep the clan head from having Hinata do slow forms and range of motion exercises while he supervised Hinata's younger sister Hanabi's training. The younger girl sparred with a branch member while Hayashi used a pointer to tap at Hanabi's form to correct it. Each tap meant that Hanabi had to stop and move in the correct manner twice before continuing the spar. The clan head frowned as he tapped his younger daughter once more. Hinata knew her forms well enough that she could perform them without a tap. Hayashi looked at his older daughter do her exercises off to one side and kept himself from sighing. It was in live sparring that her problems arose. The weakness was not in her technique. It was in a combination of her small size and her will to perform them. Somehow, Hayashi knew he had to find a way to get Hinata to find the confidence to overcome those flaws. A clamor arose to the side of the training area. Hayashi turned towards it and activated his clan's bloodline, the Byakugan. His pale eyes would appear like those of a blind person to an ignorant civilian, but they were a sign of a powerful dojutsu. Veins bulged on his temples, chakra and blood surged into the eyes. His vision faded to a black and white world while chakra stood out as the only color. He spied something amiss to his left, and turned as a trio of ninja appeared and hurled explosive tagged kunai at the training Hyuga. Hayashi knew he could not immediately protect himself with the kaiten because that would push Hanabi away, likely causing severe injury. Events happened quickly. The branch family member jumped between the kunai and the main family. Hayashi grabbed Hanabi and pushed her to the ground at his feet. He focused his chakra and prepared to begin his kaiten spin. Hinata was further away, so she went to one knee and crossed her arms in an X before her body, pumping chakra from her tenketsu points to form a defensive barrier without spinning. Two of the kunai struck the branch member and exploded, throwing him across the training field to land in a bloody heap. The third kunai landed next to Hayashi and exploded. A massive flash and bang filled the area. The chakra-enhanced explosion of light and sound was made worse on Hayashi with his Byakugan active. He saw the flash surround himself and Hanabi, stunning father and child while knocking Hayashi to the ground. The three mystery ninja quickly closed in, and one began to pick up Hanabi while a second approached Hayashi with a kunai on hand. The third came at Hinata almost causally as she was still in her defensive crouch. It was his last mistake as Hinata made two perfect Chunin strikes on the man's thighs, closing down the man's ability to use his legs. As the man fell, she followed up with another chakra-enhanced strike to the temple, killing the man instantly. Oh, the weakling still has some fight in her. The leader crooned as he lifted the stunned Hanabi. He was not aware of his man being dead yet, only thinking him stunned. Too bad she is going to die along with her daddy. The little one here will fetch a high price from the Cloud Village. You will not touch them, shouted Hinata as she leapt toward the ninja about to cut Hayashi's throat. The ninja stood back up as Hinata closed in. He did not seem to think Hinata a threat until he noticed his comrade was not breathing. He cursed silently. The supposedly weak girl had already taken down one of their number, and if he left himself open to kill Hayashi, he could die himself. The kunai thrust out at Hinata, who parried the blade as her training had taught her. Hinata focused and made her attack. She had not mastered the divine 64 strikes yet, so she did the best she could. Hinata was at the 32 strike stage before her weak leg gave out. Even so, the first 32 blows had all hit and the ninja fell stunned with the tenketsu to his arms and legs all shut down. The fatal blows would have been in the last series of strikes. The leader growled as his second man fell to this so-called weakling of the Hyuga. Holding Hanabi under one arm, he prepared to leap away. The wounded branch member now got into the fray with a thrown kunai. He had pulled it from his own wound and sent it back at the attacker, striking the kidnapper's calf, preventing the man from escaping immediately. However, the branch member could not follow up due to his own injuries and lack of weapons. The kidnapper pulled the kunai from his calf and wasted precious seconds to inspect the wound. He would be able to fight but not run off quickly. His hostage would have to ensure his escape. Hinata took the opportunity to regain her feet and close in on the enemy. You will drop my sister and surrender yourself. The voice dripped with malice and barely contained anger. Hayashi was shocked at the tone in his daughter's voice. This was a Hinata no one in the clan had ever seen. Her Byakugan had activated after the initial explosion with no hand signs, and her voice carried a tone that even impressed Hayashi as he was struggling to get to his feet. Shouts closed in on the training field as the guards were reacting to the explosions. Barely 30 seconds had passed since the first explosion. Hinata sidestepped to keep Hanabi on the far side of the ninja, and his kunai needed to defend against an attack. Hayashi managed to stand but could barely maintain his balance, and had blood coming from one ear due to a ruptured eardrum. Just another 15 seconds. I just have to keep him occupied for another 15 seconds, Hinata thought. The missing nin knew his time was running out, so he put the kunai against Hanabi's throat. You had better let me go, child, or you will be an only child again. Hinata frowned and growled as she half-stepped closer. The blade pulled back away from Hanabi's throat, showing blood on the sharp edge. Hinata charged. The missing nin knew he could not take the time to kill Hinata and still escape, so he thrust the kunai at Hinata when she charged. He expected the girl to attempt a parry, thus leave herself open to being kicked away, but Hinata let the blade impact her forearm. It slid between the bones of her forearm. She felt no pain yet. Hinata was only focused on her goal as she lifted it up and away, instead exposing the man's chest to her strike. Anger fueled her blow as she pumped too much chakra into her strike. The insides of the missing nin's chest almost liquefied under the amount of chakra Hinata hit him with. Hayashi had managed to get his Byakugan active once more, and saw the hand of his older daughter nearly glowing as she overloaded the tenketsu in her hand, burning it with the amount of energy flowing through it. The missing nin fell like a brick. Hinata fell to her knees and pulled the still Hanabi close to herself, and began to cry in relief. The blood on the kunai was only from a slight cut. Guards flooded the area as Hayashi reached his daughters and wrapped his arms around them both. NBU and medical ninja were summoned. The one surviving missing nin was bound and taken for interrogation. The bodies of the other two were removed for examination. The 3 Hyuga main family members were rushed to the hospital. Aside from the cut on her neck, Hanabi was basically unharmed as she had only been stunned by the opening attack. Hayashi had a ruptured eardrum, and I strained from having his Byakugan active when the flashbang went off. Hinata was admitted again due to her hand being covered in chakra burns and a deep knife wound to her forearm. The captured kidnapper quickly broke under interrogation. His team had been working with the spy and slipped into Konoha with him. Their original plan had been to take one of Hayashi's daughters or an unmarked baby boy when Anbu was distracted with the theft by the spy. However, the fire and the increased security afterward had left them trapped inside of Konoha. They had waited and became more desperate until they just attacked the Hyuga compound. A pair of bored Hyuga sentries had died in the process. After things were settled down, Hayashi went to see Hinata. The girl sat as erect as she could in her bed for her father as she recounted her actions. This is difficult to understand, Hinata. You have shown poor ability against your sparring partners and lose to your sister regularly, but when she and I were threatened, you reacted in a direct, clear and aggressive manner. You killed 2 Chunin level opponents, and would have killed a third with the Divine 64 strikes had you completed it. That attack was not completed due to your leg failing from your recent injury. How could you complete those attacks when you could not demonstrate them for me against your sister? Hinata's head dropped down for a moment before she decided to put everything out into the open. She looked up and directly into her father's eyes. I do not wish to harm Hanabi-chan, father. I see her, and all I can see is mother. Hanabi-chan has the same face as mother. I am sorry for being weak like that, but I cannot harm her simply to demonstrate my ability. Hinata's voice was barely above a whisper as she finished speaking, but her nerve held. Hayashi just stood as he pondered his daughter's answer. Yes, Hanabi-chan does indeed have her looks, he finally said softly. Given how close you were to her, I am not surprised then you would let yourself see that when I would not. It seems I have a few things I need to rethink. For now, if you continue to show strength like you shown today, you will be a fine heir one day. Hayashi bowed slightly and left Hinata alone with her thoughts. Father complimented me. He called me strong. Hinata felt like dancing. It had taken almost losing her family, but her father had acknowledged her. Sarutobi hated paperwork. It mocked him on a daily basis. Some days it felt like papers would somehow become unsigned simply to jump back into the pile. Today, the cost breakdown for a replacement for the school building sat before him. The students were currently scattered around the village in whatever meeting halls and training areas could hold them. Even the meeting room in the tower was used several hours a day for instruction. They needed a central place again and quickly. Sarutobi sighed softly. Our strength in numbers and quality of ninja is finally approaching the level it was at before the Kyuubi attacked, and now this setback. Half of the non-clan students were withdrawn from the academy as well. I really should have stayed retired, but there is still no one worthy of the title of Hokage left in the village. Reports from Jiraiya tell me that criminals and missing nin are flocking to a new village in the rice country. Rock and Cloud are getting restless in the peace and have grown faster than us since the wars ended. Dark days lie ahead, and this time we do not have a ninja like the fourth. We need something for the people to rally behind. Not just a single person that can be lost either. A team perhaps. One with the will of fire shining brightly in them. Much like the Sannin had been years ago, the ones who inspired the fourth to become great. A new Sannin. I must get Jiraiya to contact Tsunade to see if she will return to see her old teacher. I have 2 people in mind already, now I need to find a third. Naruto flinched as he got to finally scratch. His back itched terribly, and after nearly a month of healing he was finally able to do something about it. The last treatment from medics had been the day before, and like each time they treated his wound, he had thanked them for their efforts on his behalf. Naruto had made many friends among the medical staff. The ones who did not like him had been quietly reassigned to other patients. The doctor and nurses who had been there the day the Hokage had talked to the boy had spread word about the boy and the demon not being the same being, and that coupled with Naruto's heroic efforts at the school began to change their mind about him. At one time or another, all the members of the first-year class he had saved had come in to visit along with their parents. Naruto quietly accepted the thanks and blushed at the praise he received. Even his time for moving around had been limited, but when he was allowed to walk in the hallway under supervision, he found his way to the pediatric ward. He had received many gifts from villagers and his new female fan club. A good number of the stuffed animals had gone home with smaller children, and flowers graced many nurses' desks, all passed on by Naruto. He kept a box with all the cards for memories. The only sour note had happened when one child celebrated a birthday in the hospital. The candle being lit had sent Naruto into a shivering sweat, and he had to excuse himself. The sight of fire still brought a phantom pain to his back, and in his nightmares he had flashbacks to the experience of being burnt. To counter that, he gotten to spend a lot of time sitting with Tsunade just talking. Her extra week in the hospital recovering from the attack on her family was spent in his company whenever possible. The shy girl blossomed under his attention as well as from the acknowledgement of her father. The boy actually sat quietly as the girl explained many things he had never learned. Many on the staff saw the pair was what the other one needed. She needed his brash confidence and energy to bring herself out of her shell, while in turn her timid serenity got him to slow down and think before acting. Sarutobi waited while a nurse led Naruto out of the hospital. Here he is, Hokage-sama. Turning to Naruto, now we loved having you for a patient, Naruto, but we can honestly say we hope never to see you in here again. Naruto just grinned and rubbed the back of his head. I'll do my best. You never know when trouble will find me in this town. The nurse nodded and bowed to Sarutobi before going back inside. Sarutobi walked with Naruto back to his apartment. The boy had wanted to drop off the box of cards and letters along with the few stuffed animals he had kept. Naruto noticed that several clan compounds had increased security in the wake of the attempt on the Hyuga. He also noted some glaring flaws and one that the prankster in him could exploit. You saw that hole in their security as well, Naruto? Huh. Well, that clan has never really been nice to me, so I tend to, I had better shut up now. Sarutobi laughed and rubbed the young blonde's head. Actually, I had an idea on that. With the recent breaches of security in Konoha, I think a lot of our security measures should be reevaluated. Nothing makes a proud clan take notice faster than being embarrassed. Since your exploits and pranks are almost legend in the ANBU offices and you have the uncanny knack for avoiding capture by anyone less than a Jonin, I want you to aid us in the security upgrades. My office will pay you to infiltrate a different clan compound each week and play a serious prank on them. The purpose will be twofold. First, it will reveal their security flaws and force them to improve. Second, it will give you a much finer training in stealth and infiltration than you have already. You will be provided with a scroll each week from my office to leave at the site of your prank. This will inform them that not only had they had a serious flaw in security but that the prank was authorized by the Hokage. Naruto was almost drooling now with the idea that he was not only going to be paid to prank, but was being encouraged to do so. There are a few other conditions, Naruto. No more pranks outside of these official ones. You have earned a lot of goodwill from many villagers and I would hate to see that destroyed by a stink bomb in the wrong place. You will do no permanent damage to anything or anyone. I know you have never hurt anyone in the past, but there had been property damage by your pranks in a few cases. The downside of these missions is that you will have to write reports on what you saw, what you did, and how you managed to infiltrate. Any other observations you make during the missions will be helpful to my office as well. Building layouts, secret passages, and even access points a clan might not know about will need to be included. Anything that can be used against a compound will be reported. If you have multiple options on what prank to pull, you should add that in. Also, if you cannot finish within a week, you must still write a report on what they are doing correctly that kept you out. That's gonna be a lot of work, old man. I mean, once I start in on that stuff, everyone is going to know it was me doing it. It's not like it will be a big secret after a few of them happen. Everyone is gonna be watching me like a hawk and take extra care when I'm in the area. You are right. I'm glad you see the need to keep these missions a secret, but I will allow you to bring one other person onto your team for planning purposes only. The actual prank may only be committed by you. Since I can tell by your look that you agree, we can discuss financial terms over ramen. Sarutobi smiled to himself at his plan. By having Naruto doing paid pranks to test security, he would keep the boy in the village limelight. The boy needed the positive attention that so many in Konoha never gave him. He had spent so many years wasting his skills in mean-spirited pranks for negative attention. The boy had skills in certain areas, but Sarutobi would turn them toward the benefit of both Konoha and Naruto. Yes, a focused Naruto was a dangerous Naruto. It was one step on the way towards the completion of his plan. Over the next few months, the assignment to Naruto would make him a legend among pranksters. The pranks on the smaller clans went off without a hitch. Several of the more renowned clans had some serious embarrassments. The Nara found several prize deer painted according to cuts of meat. The Akimichi found all of their canned food labels removed and the cans made into a diorama of Konoha. One clan that was known for crafting weapons had awakened to find all their anvils piled in the rock garden. No clan was spared from Naruto's testing, but 3 managed to prevent his pranks. The Inuzuka, the Aburame and the Hyuga had security that foiled his pranks, and the Hokage knew about it. Naruto did, however, give good critiques on what he did find. If he had been allowed to leave damage or do harm, he could have pulled off several plots quite easily. The Inuzuka could have been done in by stink bombs that Naruto provided plans for in his report. The Aburame's bugs could be defeated by sonic attacks, and the Hyuga were vulnerable to eye irritants. Many clans were outraged at first by the pranks until they found the Hokage's scroll at the site. In each case, Naruto had struck at the one thing each clan did best. Sarutobi pointed out that in each case, Naruto had done something that, if it had been an enemy, could have done great damage to the prestige of the clan. The Nara deer were prized for the medicines the horns could provide. The Akimichi food consumption was legendary, and if Naruto had been an enemy, the entire clan could be dead from poison. In each case, the clan head had a meeting with the Hokage. Naruto was in attendance, and would apologize for the prank as he had done it under orders before outlining the methods he used to commit them. After the first round of pranks had completed, Sarutobi had him hit a random guard tower each night, as well as try to pull something during the day on the gates. The improved security reaped rewards quickly. Spies and missing nin that tried to infiltrate Konoha found a welcome they did not like, and many were captured. Marino Ibiki was almost in tears of joy with the number of enemy ninja he got to play with. 6 months after the first round of pranks, Sarutobi had Naruto do it again. Far fewer missions could be completed, and the clans that kept Naruto out began to show pride in their being Naruto-proof. Of course, the Inuzuka made sure to mention that they always had been, but no one listened to them once Sarutobi authorized a special raid by Naruto. The strong smell of perfume lingered on all Inuzuka for a week afterwards. During all these months, Naruto had chosen his partner in crime well. No one suspected the shy Hyuga Hinata as being his comrade in pranks. Naruto had made it a specific point to ask Hayashi up front if Hinata could be the one to aid him. It took a long meeting with the Hokage before Hayashi would agree to allow it. The extra training in planning and infiltration would be helpful to Hinata in the future, as it was likely she would be assigned to a recon team. The Hokage also mentioned that the assignment would fuel Hinata's growing sense of self-confidence. The stoic Hyuga leader also enjoyed a good prank, so he gave his approval. Hayashi knew that Hinata had already developed a mild crush on the yellow-haired prankster. While the boy was not well thought of in some circles, Hayashi knew exactly who the orphan was. He felt that the boy having ties to the Hyuga clan in some fashion would be a wise investment for the future. Hayashi offered the duo a seldom-used storage cellar in a building the Hyuga owned in the merchant district as a base of operations. Any supplies they needed would be provided through Hinata, so the people watching Naruto would not get too suspicious. Hayashi's only requirement after keeping Hinata safe from harm was that he be provided with a copy of anything the pranksters found as well. For Hinata, it was like a dream come true. She had always wanted a friend, and with Naruto she had a great one. He would not let her retreat into her shy mode when he was around, but she also kept him from going overboard with his energy. Since she was no longer worried about being put up against her sister, her Juken ability on forms seemed to increase exponentially, and began approaching that of Niji. However, she still lacked the needed reach to fare well against adult sparring partners. The weekly prank missions became more than just a fun sideline for Hinata. The work involved took more than simply going in and doing the prank. It took a lot of planning and recon work. The duo drew up a lot of maps of Konoha the first few months they were working for the Hokage. It became almost a game to find out new things around Konoha to make the maps more complete. If something existed, it was added to the growing stack of scrolls for later use. After the first round of pranks had been completed, they had a 3-dimensional map of Konoha and its underworkings that rivaled, and in some cases surpassed, that of ANBU. The Hokage and Hayashi both were impressed by the level of detail these maps provided. After a second closed-door session, both adults realized they had a potential gold mine of information and acquired a complete copy of the children's cartography. The Hokage and Hayashi allowed Hinata to join in on the raids, beginning with the second round of pranks. With her Byakugan, she could see more deeply into structures and underground passages to make the maps greater in detail. Hinata understood what the map making was for, but she did not worry the situation greatly. She looked forward to breaking into clan compounds with Naruto. That was her primary interest in the missions now. The planning and execution with Naruto was her main concern. Anything else that made a mission successful was an aid to them. If her father or the Hokage could also benefit from it, she was pleased but not worried. Her ideas became more and more creative in helping them accomplish the weekly goals. One idea she had was that the clans knew Naruto was behind the pranks, so they would be on the lookout for the orange-clad boy. He should use a henge to disguise himself during recon. She would use one as well to hide the fact that her Byakugan was active as she and a branch member were out on errands. Hinata even approached the Hokage to have Anbu-style masks made for the pair, one of a fox, the other of a rabbit. The pair felt that since they were on secret missions, they needed to look the part. Sarutobi chuckled and approved. She also convinced Naruto to dress more appropriately for night missions in dark colors while maintaining his normal orange strictly for day wear to throw off the clans. One mission in particular was a success solely due to Hinata's ideas. The Kara clan knew they were going to be raided soon. Naruto had been seen snooping around near their compound. They had stepped up their night patrols immensely, and covered the building so well that the pair had been forced to retire 3 nights in a row without a successful mission. Naruto knew he could finish the prank, but part of the game was doing so undiscovered. Hinata looked over all their information on the clan once more and noticed that 2/3 of the clan members were involved with night guarding the compound. Hinata simply asked, "What about a daytime raid?" Naruto had not done a prank in the broad daylight since Sarutobi asked him to do these security missions. The grin on his face was soon mirrored by one on Hinata as she went to fetch their mission clothing. Fox and Rabbit were soon eating ramen at Ichiraka as the Kara clan tried to figure out how all the swords in their armory had mysteriously found their way onto the roof of the clan house. Aside from the pranking, Naruto and Hinata still had to attend the academy. The Hokage had focused all the resources needed to get the school finished quickly. The school had been rebuilt after 4 months and was a much better place to learn than before. Naruto joined Hinata's class under Irika-sensei. The other members of the class included the group he has seen on the stairs during the fire as well as a dozen more. The dark brooding Uchiha Sasuke was no longer the sole focus of a fan club. Several had turned their sights onto Naruto. Of course, Naruto took no notice of the girls crushing on him as his time not in school was filled with the prank missions. The other kids he had seen on the stairs during the fire all became his friends fairly quickly. Nara Shikamaru, Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Choji, Aburame Shino, and Inuzuka Kiba were all like Hinata in that they all considered Naruto a hero. The way they accepted Naruto warmed his heart, and helped him adjust much better than any class he had been in before. Uchiha Sasuke was cold and distant, and just considered Naruto beneath his notice. Any time he even spoke to Naruto he made it into an insult. Hinata took it upon herself to help Naruto. She made him focus on doing his class work by threatening to drop out of the missions if he failed as much as a quiz. It was also Hinata that realized Naruto put way too much chakra into his efforts on basic jutsu. When Naruto used chakra, it was like using a fire hose to water a fern instead of using a watering can. It could be done, but more care was needed than Naruto normally used. Once he learned how to use a minimum amount, his jutsu were turning out like they were supposed to be and left a pleased Irika to chuckle at how cute the couple looked when Naruto pouted and Hinata playfully scolded him. Haruno Sakura was frowning while watching the too cute couple. It was bad enough that Naruto had managed to pull out of dead last status, but now Hinata was doing better across the board as well. That improvement had not only pushed Sakura out of her spot as top girl in the class but also left Sakura as the last-placed person in taijutsu among the girls. It did not matter that she was without peer in chakra control and genjutsu in school. All people saw was that she was weak physically. On top of all the school problems Sakura seemed to be developing, the Sasuke fan club had a rapidly depleting membership. Since the fire and the Uchiha's callous abandoning of the rest of the class to sprint out of the building, fewer girls saw him as something special. Even Ino had told Sakura that if the pink-haired girl wanted that moody coward she was welcome to him. Sakura's enraged attack on Ino during taijutsu class made things that much worse. Ino simply assumed a neutral stance and literally slapped Sakura's pitiful attacks to the side. "You know, forehead, I've spent the last few months practicing once I realized I was spending all my time fawning over some worthless emo boy. All you did was tell everyone he was misunderstood. They treat him like a prodigy and hero because he survived the massacre. You know what? He wouldn't even be a prodigy among his own clan. His brother's record makes him look like a loser. The age Sasuke is now, his brother was in ANBU. Sasuke is just an academy student and has not even activated his Sharingan yet. Most Uchiha clan members had it activate before they were 12. Not much of a prodigy or genius there, huh, forehead?" Ino then went on the offensive as tears streamed down Sakura's face. A single hit to the stomach made Sakura bend over and lose her breath, and a follow-up downward strike to the jaw laid Sakura down to the grass. "Drop the illusions, forehead. If you want the best you already missed out, because he is blonde and taken. You should just quit the academy. You're weak." Ino just bowed to the instructor and left the sparring field. Sakura lay there just thinking about Ino's taunts. They had stung her badly. Once classes were over for the day, Sakura merely wandered the village. She never paid attention to where she was going and walked right into someone. Looking up she saw the white robes and aged face of the Hokage. Sakura blushed and apologized for bumping into him, but he waved it off. He led her to a small bench nearby and sat them down on it. "You seem deep in thought, Sakura. Mind telling an old man exactly what is making your young face so troubled besides that monster of a bruise on it?" "Wow, the Hokage knows my name. I've been having some doubts about a few things, Hokage-sama. I'm not even sure if I should stay in the academy anymore." My, that is a troubling situation. It is close to the end of the term as well. What is causing your doubts? Well, I've been seeing how everything changed since the fire at the academy. The new building is great and all, but a lot of attitudes have changed. I like a boy that everyone seems to have turned against recently. I know that sounds shallow, but I think I could help him if he would let me. Sakura, I think I know who you are talking about. He has a lot to deal with and people have not had him confront his problems at all. They just tell him he is a genius, and in many ways he is. He learns things quickly and well, but he never needs to really try very hard to learn these things. Because he never needs to train as hard as others do, he looks down on people that cannot accomplish tasks as quickly as he can. He could be a great ninja for Konoha, but he is lacking the one thing that makes Konoha ninja special. He only cares for himself, not for others. That is a trait too many Uchiha have had in the past. But I think your troubles are coming from something else, Sakura. What else is bothering you? Sakura sighed deeply as she sat quietly fighting back tears for a minute before speaking softly. Today at sparring practice, I lost to my old friend Ino. It wasn't even a contest. She just stood there and batted away my taijutsu like it was nothing, then beat me in 2 hits. She just put down Sasuke-kun during the fight and called me weak after it. She said I should quit the academy? Sakura broke down crying. I don't want to be weak, Hokage-sama. I know I can be strong, but I'm not sure how to get there. I've run and lifted weights and done everything the instructors expect of us, but I never get any stronger. Then suddenly Ino, who has always been on the same level as me, is kicking my butt. I don't know what to do anymore. Sarutobi just wrapped his arms around the crying girl and held her until she had cried out her despair. Sakura, being strong is more than something physical. It means you have the inner fire to overcome the things that bother you. I think you should go have this talk with Irika. He is a much better teacher than he lets on. I believe he can help you find out what you're doing wrong and get you back on track to where you want to be headed. But remember, it has to be something you want before you can improve, Sakura. Now run along home. I am sure your parents are wondering why you're late for dinner. Sarutobi watched the pink-haired girl rush down the street before disappearing from view. Maybe there is something there that can be worked with. She reminds me of someone from a long time ago. I should check this one out a bit harder. It was completely dark by the time Sakura finally got home. Sorry I'm late, Mom. I got into something after school and I even got to talk to the Hokage a little while ago. Sakura was walking into the kitchen and both her parents stopped what they were doing to stare at the pink-haired girl. Sakura noticed them looking and turned to look behind herself before going, What? Sakura, the entire left half of your face is nothing but a bruise. What happened to you? Oh, that? It was sparring practice with Ino at the end of school today. She got in a lucky shot and decked me. It's nothing, really. Haruno Sumomo arched an eyebrow at her daughter's evasive answer. She never really approved of her daughter's desire to be a ninja. No one in the family had been one since her grandfather, and he was never that good at it. He had been crippled back in the Second Ninja War. She figured if she married a nice bureaucrat, then she would never have to worry about ninja in the family. If only her father had enough spine to keep her from going to the academy. Well, you sit down, and I'll get the first aid kit. We should at least get something on that before it swells anymore. It even looks like you were crying. It must really hurt if you were crying from it. Sakura blushed a bit when her mother mentioned crying. It stung a little at the time. But really, Mom, it's nothing. I'll have to deal with a lot more than a little bruise when I make genin. Making genin seems to be all you think about lately. You are never home after school anymore. You're always out chasing after that Uchiha boy. Sumomo grumbled. Sakura flinched as she knew her mother was going to go into another tirade about ninja, and she should be worried about finding a nice boy to get engaged to in a few years. She tried to sneak out of the kitchen to her room but walked into her mother instead. You. Sit. Sumomo pointed to the chair at the table. Sakura sat and let her mother work on her face. After a liberal application of ointment, Sakura tried to leave again. You know, Sakura, your father works very hard at his job to support us. His boss is looking to find a bride for his son, and he has expressed an interest in meeting you. Why don't we get you out of that silly ninja school? With your brains and head for numbers, I am sure you could be a great help for his department in the payroll office. You could meet his boss' son and we could arrange a future for you. Mom, I don't want to work in Dad's office and his boss' son is a gross fat kid that was not even accepted into the academy. I'm doing the things I wanted to by going to the academy. Dad understands that, and that is why he let me go in the first place. That is my future. But Sakura, it's so dangerous. I mean, you could be crippled like your great-grandfather or worse, captured by enemies and raped or enslaved. Or even just have your throat cut and be dumped in a ditch like trash. Sumomo was in tears at her pleas, but Sakura was not buying it. She knew how her mother manipulated her father on a daily basis with those tears and would not fall for it herself. But a shadow of doubt crept into Sakura's mind. Ino had beaten her so easily today. It had not even been a contest this afternoon. 2 hits and boom, down went Sakura into the dirt. Now with her mother ranting on about the dangers of being a kunoichi, Sakura could not help but pause at all the possible dangers that lay in her future. Mom, Sakura whispered. Mom, I'll think about it this time, okay? The following morning, Sakura arrived early for class to speak to Irika. Irika-sensei, I need to ask something and I need an honest answer. Am I weak? She asked. Irika was slightly shocked by the outright question. Well, I would not go calling you weak, Sakura. You are a very intelligent girl and have excellent chakra control. Those are things that can let you go far as a ninja. No, sensei. Am I weak physically? Am I cut out to be a ninja? Yesterday, Ino beat me in sparring without even having to try. Please, Irika-sensei, tell me the truth. Irika sighed. He had heard this line from students for years. Mostly it was right before they dropped out of training. He did not want to lose another student this year, but he also felt hiding the truth would be worse than lying since it could mean a dead genin in a few months' time. Sakura, I know you think you work hard at your training, but actually you tend to just coast through it. You do the minimum required to pass at the physical things. As I said in chakra control and genjutsu, no one else at the same training level can touch you. But you never have to try on those. It is a natural gift you have in those aspects of being a ninja. That same work ethic doesn't apply in the physical things. Yes, you can meet the lowest physical requirements to become a genin, but if you tried harder you could do so much better. Natural ability will only take a person so far, but it is only through hard work that a person can excel. So, I am weak. Sakura, it's not so much a matter of you being weak physically. It's a case of you not putting out the effort needed to get better. That's what you need to do, Sakura. You need to get out and push yourself physically. It will get you stronger and more capable. Look at Hinata and Naruto. A few months ago both were near the bottom of the class. They both found new ways to work on their flaws. See how much better they're both doing now. You could have that sort of improvement. It is up to you, though. I can honestly say if you don't get better physically, I might have to recommend that you not be allowed to take the genin exam at the end of term. So, it's either step up or step out, Irika-sensei? Irika slowly nodded. He hated this part. Better to crush a child's dream now than to have to see another one buried. He waited for Sakura to tell him she was quitting. Sakura stood there quietly for a minute, looking down. She thought back on all the things she had gone through to get to this point. The taunts and teasing she went through when she was smaller before Ino became her friend. The feeling that simple act had given Sakura was one she still treasured in spite of all the disagreements later on. Ino had made her feel safe and protected. Sakura later had applied for ninja school along with Ino because she had wanted to make others feel safe as well. Her father had taken her for a walk the night she asked her parents to let her attend the academy. A ninja, huh? You know your mother is going to raise a huge stink over this, don't you? Well, don't let her know this, but I tried to get into the academy in my youth. Those Sannin had inspired so many of us. I was telling everyone I knew how I was going to be the one to defeat all the enemies of Konoha. I tried my best, but I knew after a little while I couldn't even generate an ounce of chakra to save my life. I was still there 10 minutes after they told me I failed, still trying to make even a bit of chakra. Then this blonde kid no one knew came up and stunned everyone with the amount of chakra he had. I never got his name then, but years later he was named 4th Hokage. Seems funny that your old dad, the dependable, reliable working stiff, had dreams of being like that in his past, huh? Well, I believe you can do this. Go after your dreams, Sakura, and I'll be a hero as well and deal with what your mother has to say. Her father had just kissed her on her forehead and, true to his word, allowed Sakura to attend the academy, never once backing down from that choice. He was stronger than she had ever thought he could be. He gave her the chance for her own dreams. Could she walk away from those dreams? She could give up becoming a ninja and find a well-off husband without trying. Her mother would see to that. She looked up at Irika-sensei. He was waiting for Sakura to say something. She could see the look on his face. He knew she was going to back out and quit. A flash of her father came again. That look superimposed on his face almost broke her heart. Her father believed in her dream. Could she face him without trying? Sensei. Sakura paused again as one last thought danced across her mind. Trying. The entire problem suddenly became simple. It all came down to trying. Her father had tried. He failed, but it was not the fact that he had been rejected that was important. He had gone out knowing he couldn't and attempted it anyhow. He had failed on his terms by giving his best effort. She could do this, but the most important point is she had not been putting out the effort. That was the simple truth she had been missing these past few years. She had lost her focus. It went from to be a ninja to instead gain the attention of a handsome boy with dark eyes and a mysterious air. She had come in with a dream, to be a ninja, to protect others from bullies, to protect her parents and friends and village. Her father gave her the opportunity. Her teachers gave her the knowledge. Now all she had to do was put out the effort to take the last step. This late in the year she might not be able to improve enough physically. But what if she tried? She was faced with the choice, to go quietly or to go out on her own terms. Sensei, what do I need to do? Can you help me? Sakura looked Irika in the eye. The green orbs of Sakura's eyes seemed to light up in an inner fire that was not there earlier. I want to get stronger. Sarutobi was enjoying his evening stroll through the village. As he passed the academy, He noticed a sweaty pink-haired girl running laps around the track. He chuckled at the sight. After his research and seeing this, he decided that he would have an A&B leave a small scroll in her family's mailbox tomorrow. Sarutobi was very pleased. His original plans were progressing faster than he had anticipated. Jiraiya had found Tsunade rather quickly. It did take the man 6 months to convince the slug princess to return to Konoha for a visit. The promise of paying off a hefty portion of her gambling debt was all it took in the end. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizen entered the village on the day of Naruto's grandest prank ever. Sarutobi had allowed Naruto free rein on his grand prank. It had to be something to get Anbu after him. The only catch was he could not be caught in the process of setting it up. A week of setting rooftop traps that would not be found or tripped ahead of time was extremely difficult for Naruto. He made sure that Hinata was not involved in this one, as her father would object to such a performance. Once it was set, he only had to wait for dawn to begin. 2 hours of labor painting the Hokage monument somehow was unnoticed by all save Hinata and Sarutobi. The stealth genjutsu Naruto had developed rivaled the one Jiraiya used to peep with. Once he had finished the paint, he stood atop the force head and shouted, "Hey Konoha, look at this!" Killer intent from multiple ANBU squads flushed the boy from his perch, and the chase began. The devastation to the pride of the ANBU was complete by noon. They were extremely hampered by the sole fact that they were under long-standing orders not to harm Naruto. Squad by squad they had fallen prey to the traps laid by Naruto. Stink bombs, paint bombs, multiple bunshin in Naruto's sexy jutsu. Naruto had pulled out all the stops and planning he had learned over the years to accomplish his grand prank. The sole member of ANBU to finally catch Naruto was presented with the mission scroll from the Hokage. The ANBU captain in the dog mask was the one to finally reel in Naruto. Kakashi looked at the scroll and simply began laughing at how badly they all had underestimated the 12-year-old academy student. Cleanup went even smoother as Naruto made 5 hand signs and dispersed the special paint he had used in his prank, leaving the mountain pristine once more. The great Naruto chase would be remembered long after his passing. Tsunade scowled at not being allowed sake during her lunch date with Sarutobi. She was already missing out on a serious pachinko tournament in the land of tea to be here. If Sarutobi reneged on Jiraiya's promise to pay off half her debts, she would level this musty old tower. This town had too many bad memories for her to be comfortable for very long. She had told Shizen to not even unpack the bags, only get the dirty clothes washed and repacked. "So, what did you think of the little display this morning, Tsunade?" Tsunade scowled. The ANBU looked like a bunch of idiots. 3 hours chasing a kid who should have been caught before the first swipe of paint was dry on the mountain. "You've let this place go to crap, sensei." Sarutobi only nodded at Tsunade's blatant insult but pressed on. "Well, we are slowly fixing something that has developed in the years since the fourth died. This village lost something special when he sacrificed himself to save it. Something we need to regain before events around us destroy it completely." Tsunade looked up sharply at that. She was not fond of Konoha but did not want it destroyed. Her teacher had a solemn face, and as she looked at Jiraiya, he nodded as well. "There is a new hidden village growing in the rice country. It seems that the leader of it is an old friend of ours who has a love of snakes." Orochimaru. "Yes, and I recall his last statement to me, that he would destroy Konoha one day. His village is closer to us than any other hidden village, so even our allies would not have a chance to aid us if something were to happen." Sarutobi paused to pour tea for himself and his guests before continuing. "So again, what did you think of Minato's boy this morning?" Tsunade almost spit out her tea in surprise. The blonde gaki who did all that was Minato's boy. Sarutobi chuckled. "Yes, it seems he did not like being shunned by most of the population and took up pranking to gain attention. He became quite good at evading the consequences of his pranks as well. His skills at avoiding capture already rival those of his mother. After age 10, no one short of a Jonin could apprehend him. His skills make even Kakashi have to put forth an effort. For the past 9 months, I have had him working for me. He has been planning raids on clan compounds to pull pranks as a test of security. The chase this morning was a direct result of a lack of reporting by ANBU on overall security. They had gotten lax in not reporting the pranks being done, so I needed to remind them that even in peace, we need to watch for unusual activity. Naruto took an entire week to set up his little chase today, and I am sure he was spotted several times setting it up, but no word of it reached my ears. Had his prank been an actual sabotage attempt, half the village would be destroyed now." Tsunade was not sure if she should raise her view of the boy or lower her view on the village. She remembered the level of ability of Uzumaki Kushina, the woman Sarutobi mentioned. As a girl, she had been part of a refugee family of ninja from the land of Whirlpool. They had fled to Konoha when their small country had been forcibly absorbed by the land of water 24 years ago. A rock village raiding party killed off all the refugees but Kushina, who had been rescued by Jiraiya and his genin team. The team was surprised by the girl as she evaded attacks from a rock jonin before the raiding party was defeated by Jiraiya's squad. Kushina became at first a mascot and little sister to the squad before becoming a ninja in her own right when she was old enough. "So how does all of this involve me, sensei? It's not like you to spend time and money to find me just to have lunch and talk of old times. What do you want?" Tsunade asked. Sarutobi smiled. Blunt as always, Tsunade. What I want is to use you, Jiraiya, and one other to train a team for Konoha. No, she said bluntly. At least hear out the entire proposal first, Tsunade. Part of it has a strong influence from you. Jiraiya put in. Sensei took into account something you suggested years ago. Adding a trained medic nin to the teams. Fine, I'll listen to it. Konoha has lost much of its spark since Minato died. We need to make a team to bring that back and inspire people in the village again. Right now, all we can point to is you and Jiraiya as our achievements and inspiration. But the rest of the countries see Jiraiya as a perverted author and your reputation as the legendary sucker. That, coupled with Orochimaru's defection, has put a tarnish on the Sannin. Also, a few years ago, the Uchiha massacre by one of their own makes things that much worse for Konoha. I am very old, Tsunade. I am well past my prime, and when I am gone, there are maybe 4 people who could replace me as Hokage. The 2 of you, and Kakashi are all that are strong enough. Danzo has the backroom support of many, but he wants war and conquest. Jiraiya is a writer of erotic books and in recent years known for his exploits in brothels and bathhouses more than his skills. Kakashi is lazy and lost in his pain. You, Tsunade, are a drunken gambler who is deeply in debt. Do you see my problem now? Who can we look to for hope in that? The will of fire is dying in Konoha, and it must be reawakened if the village is to survive. I cannot afford to wait for a war to make people feel it once more. My proposition is this: a new team of apprentices for the Sannin. People chosen to be the heirs of the title and trained by the Sannin themselves. Sarutobi pulled out 3 folders and placed them on the table. Tsunade grunted in disdain but did not stop Sarutobi. Uzumaki Naruto. The son of the yellow flash Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox. He already has many of the traits and attributes of his parents. From his father, he has the Namikaze's vast chakra reserves and the same natural stamina. Both are enhanced by the chakra of the Kyuubi itself. From his mother, he has her sense of spatial awareness and acrobatic skill. In battle, he knows what is around him and can use it to his advantage. With taijutsu he can be unpredictable, and as you have seen, he is able to evade multiple opponents more skilled than himself. He has a wind affinity and a knack for creating ninjutsu that only is beginning to exploit his vast chakra. He would study under Jiraiya. Hyuga Hinata. Heir of the Hyuga clan. She has the Byakugan that all Hyuga possess. Clan taijutsu of Jukin and a strong desire to protect others. Last year, while on a half-healed leg, she took down 3 Chunin ranked missing nin who tried to kidnap her sister. She has been tested for elemental affinity, and came out as having a primary water affinity. She is the first Hyuga in 3 generations not to have an earth affinity as their primary. Sarutobi chuckled for a moment. For her age, she is also the smallest Hyuga in 3 generations. I have Haishi's permission to include her in this under Enko's teaching. Enko's brazen attitude will bring the girl out of her shy self and hopefully make her more aggressive. Hayashi also recognizes Hinata's lack of reach and elemental affinity is a strong secondary reason for her relative weakness at Jukin against larger opponents, and will allow a modified version to be developed for her use. Harino Sakura. She has an aptitude for genjutsu. She is highly intelligent with a photographic memory. Her only other claim for anything right now is precise chakra control. She has the kind of control that would make her an excellent choice as a medical specialist. She tested out better in her academy finals at chakra control than you did, Tsunade. You might want to know that she is actually a distant cousin of yours. A detailed search of the records shows she is your 3rd cousin twice removed. What? I have no other relatives. Nawaki was my last relative. This one was a bit tricky to find. I have met her and found she bore a resemblance in appearance to you. It seems the mother of your grandmother, the wife of the first, had a younger sister. Sakura descends from that line. The entire lineage to her is on the female side. That is why no one knows about it. But Sakura is the first ninja in her family since her great-grandfather, so she has no clan backing and only academy-level training. What is this with Enko filling in as a Sannin? Jiraiya asked. Well, we cannot recruit Orochimaru to do it, but everyone is aware of Enko-chan's status as his only surviving team member and apprentice, Sarutobi countered. So basically, you want us to take a loud prankster, a midget Hyuga and an academy hack nobody and make them into a Neo-Sannin? Tsunade started to chuckle before bursting out into a loud belly laugh fit that lasted for minutes. Sensei, as far as jokes go, that is the best laugh I've had in decades. But do you honestly believe anyone could turn those 3 into anything remotely close to Sannin? Tsunade, when our Genin team began, did anyone think that we could have reached the level of Sannin? The class dead last, the man who wanted to know every jutsu in the world and the fangirl princess? But in the end, Hanzo the Rain Leader named us Sannin and called us that to the world. Jiraiya quietly said. Why don't you watch them for a few weeks first, Tsunade? Give us a month to convince you that these students are worth the effort to try. I really should say no, but your idea of having one of the team trained as a medic nin is too strong an enticement. Besides, Shizen needs a few weeks of outside training in new medical theory, and the hospital here is still the best in the elemental countries. I'll observe these gaki of yours for a month to see how they interact with their peers. No promises beyond that, sensei. Tsunade spent the first afternoon watching the trio through Sarutobi's crystal ball. Irika had set the entire class on a review of basic jutsu. One by one the students had to perform a henge, a kawarmi and create clones. Tsunade noticed the Uchiha and mentioned that he was best in the class already. Why not consider him for your little project, sensei? I had considered him for a short time. However, his attitude is completely wrong for this. He insists on doing everything alone. He is callous to the other students, and considers them all a waste of his time. All he wants is to get stronger to get revenge on his brother for murdering the entire clan. The council is pandering to his ego in a large amount because he is the last loyal Uchiha. I, however, am not sure of his loyalties. If someone came by offering him a shortcut to power, I believe he would take it, no matter the cost. Sounds a bit like Orochimaru. Everything for power, and damn everyone who gets in his way. Jiraiya put in. Tsunade nodded slowly as Naruto made his clones. The intense concentration he showed surprised Tsunade. Chakra even formed a small aura about his body as he focused before creating 5 perfect clones. What was that, sensei? The amount of focus he put out on that jutsu was way out of line. Is he having trouble drawing out chakra or something? Quite the opposite, in fact. As I said before, he has his father's chakra levels and the QB enhances those. The seal that imprisons the QB is maintained by his chakra, so he has been expressing it since he was born. He already has the capacity of a Jonin but the control of a normal academy student. He literally has to force back his chakra when performing an E-rank jutsu such as a simple bunshin. Otherwise he overloads it and it fails. As he is now, he could perform consecutive A-rank jutsu for an hour before making a serious dent in his chakra. After the rest of the class had done the review, Irika led the students to the training field for taijutsu practice. The students got into place on the field and went through the academy taijutsu katas as warm-ups. Irika then paired them off to spar in individual styles. Sasuke knocked his opponent out in one blow and simply stood in a disgusted fashion while Irika attended the down boy. Hinata was taking turns attacking and defending with her partner so both could get a decent workout. Naruto was going all out but seemed to be enjoying himself even when he took a hit. Sakura seemed sluggish in her moves as her opponent would simply dodge and block everything Sakura tried. Tsunade noted a blonde girl taunt Sakura from nearby and the anger on Sakura's face as she made her next strike. The blow was blocked like most before, but this one was different. The girl slid back a few feet and looked surprised. Tsunade knew exactly what caused that and spun to face Sarutobi. That girl Sakura used a raw version of my own strength technique. How did she learn that? Sarutobi chuckled. Well, maybe a little monkey talked to her about a few things and gave her a scroll outlining the basic principles behind your technique from the jutsu library. Tsunade growled. You mean she taught herself that technique from the scroll I gave you 35 years ago? My strength technique wasn't even half finished then. True, but I also did mention that her chakra control exceeded yours at the same age. What is limiting her right now is the fact that her chakra reserves are lower and that one punch likely wore her out. But all in all, not bad for only a month of work with no training in the technique, don't you think? Tsunade grumbled again and looked back into the crystal ball to watch the rest of the practice. In spite of her demeanor, these children Sarutobi had picked impressed her. The genin exams, thought Naruto. A whole lot of hype for a simple bunch of tests to see if we learned a little bit during the years in here. I'd rather be out doing more pranks for the old man. Naruto yawned and hunched down further into his seat. Hinata had gotten him up way too early this morning to get ready for things. First, she had him run around the village several times to wear him down. With his freakish stamina, he would be fine again after a good meal, but Hinata had denied him his breakfast as well. You need to be worn down and tired when the exam time comes, or you might be too nervous to properly control your chakra when the time for the bunshin jutsu comes around. If we run down your chakra levels before the final test, it will be easier for you to get it right. You know the right amount of chakra you need to do that jutsu, but when you're rested and at full strength you need maximum concentration to get it to work, Hinata had explained. So 2 hours and 20 miles later, a tired and hungry Naruto sat in the classroom waiting for the first test. The written portion was still difficult for him, but thanks to Hinata's help the past year, he had a much easier time than he did in his previous attempt. The ninjutsu test went just as easy for Naruto as the written test. He had to admit Hinata had been right about his nervousness, and being so worn down kept his chakra from flaring too much when the time came for the bunshin. Instead of the 5 perfect clones he was aiming for, he got 3 good ones and a partial sickly-looking one. But the 3 good ones were enough for him to pass. The genjutsu part was his worst subject. His skill at Academy Genjutsu was nearly non-existent. He asked if he could use one of his own creations instead of the one that was normally used. The teachers took a moment to confer before allowing it. They would have to judge it more harshly than the standard one. Naruto grinned like a fox and used the same genjutsu he used in painting the Hokage mountain. The teachers were impressed and gave him a passing grade. Naruto went to lunch happier than he had ever been. His previous 2 attempts at passing the exam had never gone this well. He would finally get to participate into the taijutsu section of the exam. Hinata had brought lunch for both of them since she had denied him his breakfast. It was not ramen, but Naruto was too pumped up to care. He was still smiling when the class was escorted out into the schoolyard for the taijutsu testing and sparring competition. All the classes attempting to graduate students this year were out in the yard. About 60 genin hopefuls in all had made it this far. Most of the girls were gathered around Inuzuka Kiba and were fawning over his brand new puppy. The boy had a large grin on his face as he explained that his mother had decided he was old enough to begin training in the family techniques, and so had allowed Kiba to choose his first partner. The 3-month-old puppy Kiba named Akamaru soaked in all the attention the girls focused on him until Irika called the class into positions. Kiba set Akamaru off to the side and told him to watch closely. The bleachers around the athletic field were full of parents, clan officials, and plain spectators. Small groups of Chunin from the Hokage's office were taking notes on each prospective genin. Roughly a dozen jonin were gathered together to one side looking over the students. Naruto overheard in the low murmur of conversation among the students that the jonin in the bleachers were going to be the senseis for the ones who graduated this term. Naruto looked over at the jonin and did not recognize any of them. The only two that stood out to him were two sitting next to each other. One was a dark-haired red-eyed kunoichi in a strange white dress. The other one looked familiar somehow and reminded the blonde of Old Man Hokage. The first round of testing consisted of just basic academy taijutsu forms. A simple 2-point system of bouts made up the test itself as they were judged on their ability to at least attack and defend. The second round was a free-for-all. Any style and method of fighting could be used to take out your opponent. Ninjutsu was allowed. The only limiting factor was they could not use deadly techniques on their schoolmates. The open fighting was moved to a nearby training area with trees and bushes along the borders. Hinata easily won the girls' division. Between her sense of confidence and her clan's taijutsu style, none of the other girls stood a chance. The only two girls who might have challenged her, Sakura and Ino, had taken each other out in a draw that had involved a lot of insults and degenerated into a wrestling match. The boys' fights were much more impressive. The lone exception to that, Shikamaru and Shino had simply stood as each waited for the other to make the first move until the teachers disqualified them both. Choji and Kiba had ended up in a toe-to-toe brawl that left the poor Inuzuka boy looking like he had been mauled. He went and sat by Akamaru and simply soaked up the love the girls directed at the boy and his puppy. His ego did not allow him to see the love was directed at the puppy. Naruto won his first bout by jumping around before attacking his opponent from the rear. He also used tricks he had learned in his clan pranks against his second opponent. He had a third round win over Choji by using a minor genjutsu of all the food in Choji's lunch having been laced with worms. Choji just began vomiting and forfeited the match. Naruto felt bad about using such a low tactic on a friend and gave Choji his only coupon for a free lunch at Ichiraku Ramen. Choji had too big a heart to remain mad at Naruto after that. Sasuke merely went through his competition in his normal style, beat them down with a minimum of fuss. The final round of the mini-tournament came down to Naruto versus Sasuke. The rival groups of fangirls lined up eagerly to see this fight to see which boy was better. "I'm surprised a loser like you got this far," Sasuke called out as the boys faced off. "All your little tricks and traps won't work on an Uchiha. You actually need to fight, but you still won't stand a chance against me. Just run away before you get hurt." "We'll see about that. Besides, you know a lot more than me about running away. Don't you, Sasuke?" Naruto countered. Sasuke growled deep in his throat as Naruto's taunt hit home. The fire had ruined his reputation as the #1 guy in school. It was not his fault that he needed to make sure he got out of the building quickly. Sure, he could have helped, but he needed to get out of there for Konoha's benefit. He was an Uchiha, the elite of the Konoha. He could not risk being hurt before he could hunt down his brother and re-establish his clan. Sasuke rushed at Naruto intending to end the fight quickly. The same move that won his bouts all through the academy. He had this move down better than any other. The strike he made was perfect, his balance flawless. He held his stance for a second before he realized he had not connected. "Gee Sasuke, you gonna fight or you gonna just pose for photo ops after each move?" Naruto taunted. Sasuke frowned as the crowd all chuckled at the barb. He attacked the blonde again, this time seeing how Naruto dodged and landed a blow to Naruto's shoulder. Naruto managed to roll with the hit and came up into the ready position Irika had taught him. Sasuke kept pressing his attack while Naruto did more dodging than fighting. Finally, one miss left Sasuke overextended and Naruto countered with a jaw-shaking blow. The crowd all began talking excitedly. No one had ever hit Sasuke like that in a fight before. Sasuke stepped back and chuckled. "That was your one free hit, dope. You won't get any more." Naruto smirked. "Just you wait, team. I'm full of surprises." The fight went on after that with pure taijutsu for several minutes. Neither boy could land another solid hit on the other. Naruto was too good at evasion and Sasuke would not be fooled by Naruto's tricks. Then, Sasuke turned to weapons and ninjutsu. Sasuke began to launch attacks at Naruto from a distance. Naruto managed to avoid all the shuriken and kunai Sasuke hurled at him, and Sasuke was getting frustrated. This fight was taking way too long for him to be comfortable. Sasuke realized that after all his easy wins at the academy, he was not prepared for a long fight. His stamina was very low while Naruto seemed to have boundless energy. The dark-haired boy had not wanted to go into his vast array of fire jutsu since he was already tired, and even a single fire jutsu would leave him out of chakra completely. A few more weapon attacks missing the blonde frustrated him further, so Sasuke went for it. He made the hand signs and breathed deeply and sent his grand fireball jutsu at Naruto. Naruto saw the hand signs being made and knew Sasuke was going for something big. He pulled off a substitution jutsu and was next to a nearby tree as the fireball filled the sparring field. Naruto just sat there and stared at the flames. His eyes went wider as the fire hung there over the field, and he could not look away. His back seemed to explode in remembered pain. His eyes remained wide and stared at nothing as the flames dispersed. He was not moving as Sasuke looked around for the blonde boy before spotting the staring and shaking Naruto. Sasuke grunted as he sped over and elbowed Naruto in the face, knocking down the blonde. The pair landed in the bushes out of sight of the crowd. Looking at Naruto, he kicked the downed boy in the ribs several times and spat at him. Just another loser crawling before the might of the Uchiha, he said quietly. The raven-haired boy grabbed Naruto by his jacket and dragged him out of the bushes and dropped Naruto onto the ground. Winner and Rookie of the Year is Uchiha Sasuke, Iruka announced. A small crowd gathered around each of the boys. The ones near Naruto noticed him bent over holding his ribs with one arm and trying to scratch at his back with the other. The blonde boy was also shaking badly. It hurts, not again, please not again. Naruto whimpered repeatedly. Hinata understood what was wrong when she got close enough. She wrapped her arms around Naruto and spoke soft comforting words into his ear, reminding him that he was not burned again and that everything was fine. Sasuke strolled over with his few fangirls and suck-ups in tow. What's the matter, loser? Can't take a little fire? At that remark, even the fangirls recoiled from Sasuke. Everyone recalled what Naruto had gone through nearly a year ago. Sakura just stared at the raven-haired boy before saying quietly, "That was low, Sasuke, even for you." Sasuke just sneered and walked off into the school alone. His band of followers just looked at each other in silence before breaking up and heading inside, all using a different door than the Uchiha had used. Watching from the second-story window of the school, Sarutobi, Tsunade and Jiraiya were silent as they watched the last Uchiha walk into the building alone. "Now do you understand why I did not consider the boy for this project, Tsunade?" Sarutobi asked. Tsunade merely nodded. "I am still not sure if I should go through with this, sensei. But you have piqued my interest enough with these kids that for now, I am in." Iruka smiled up at the 33 students who graduated this term. "For those of you I have taught in the past, you know who I am. For those of you I have not, I am Iruka. I would like to congratulate all of you on passing this year's Genin exam. Many of you achieved high marks on your finals, and that made it difficult to create balanced teams. Because of this, the Hokage has requested that teams be formed with different tactical and strategic ideas in mind. I will read off the squads and your respective senseis will come for you after lunch." Iruka began reading of names and Naruto slouched down in his seat, barely listening beyond noticing if his name was called. He was still upset about his freezing up and losing to the Uchiha team a few days before. Hinata and others had told him it was all right and tried to make him feel better about it. Iruka treated him to ramen the night before and apologized for not knowing that Naruto had a problem with fire and promised to help the boy overcome it if he could. Naruto smiled at the offer and had actually eaten a decent amount after that. Naruto was glad to have true friends that actually cared for him. Team 7 under Hatake Kakashi, Aburame Shino, Inuzuka Kiba, Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto thought he heard a low growl come from Akamaru and a slight buzz come from Shino. It seems I am not the only person to have a dislike for Uchiha team. Team 10 under Sarutobi Asuma, Akimichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru and Yamanaka Ino. That concludes the assigned teams. Iruka-sensei, you didn't call me, Hinata-chan or Sakura. Naruto interrupted. Likely you're being sent back for being a loser, said Sasuke, tossing in a quick jibe. Actually, Naruto, Hinata and Sakura have all been chosen for individual apprenticeships. I was getting to that when Naruto interrupted. I wasn't going to make a big deal about it, but since you took the time for an insult, I will read the entire message aloud. By order of the Hokage, Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata and Hirono Sakura will report to the Hokage's office at 8 a.m. tomorrow to receive special training and apprenticeships to Sannin Jiraiya, Mitarashi Enko and Sannin Senju Tsunade. That is all. If you wish to, Naruto, Hinata and Sakura can leave. Good luck to everyone and I wish you all the best in your careers as ninja. Iruka smirked at Sasuke as he walked out. How the heck did the loser get an apprenticeship? I'm the one that should be getting the special treatment because I'm the one that needs it. I'm an Uchiha. I deserve it, Sasuke thought. By the time Sasuke looked back up from his mental rant, the trio of future apprentices had already left the room. He scowled further and slouched down to begin his wait for his new sensei. Naruto and Hinata were nearly to the exit when Sakura called out to them. Could I talk to you two for a minute? Sakura looked down for a moment before losing her nerve. I am not really sure how to say this. I'm sorry about the way Sasuke treated you the other day, Naruto. He shouldn't have said those things to you. I wasn't even nice to either of you most of the time. I want to apologize for that. Naruto smiled a little bit. Don't you worry about it, Sakura. It's not your fault he's a jerk. You only liked him for his pretty boy style. You never did anything really bad to Hinata or me. A few fangirl insults over the past year are just kids stuff. We are going to be ninja now. If what Hinata-chan says is true, we are most likely going to be teammates since we are all going to be apprenticed to Sannin. We need to leave academy stuff in the academy. Sakura blushed at Naruto's casual dismissal of all the verbal abuse she had hurled at him the past year. She could tell by his tone and demeanor that he truly meant what he said. Thank you, Naruto. Thank you, Hinata. I guess I'll see you two tomorrow in the Hokage's office. Sakura smiled a bit and waved before turning to walk off. Naruto turned to head off as well until Hinata poked Naruto in the ribs. She called out to Sakura. Sakura, Naruto-kun and I were just going to check out a few things then head to lunch. Do you want to come with us? Sakura stopped and looked at the pair. You mean it? Naruto gave his foxy grin. Of course, if Hinata-chan asks something, she means it. Sakura turned slightly to look back at the door to the classroom. We need to leave academy stuff in the academy. Something that simple, huh? Sasuke was the focus of her academy days. He had been everything she wanted for most of her time there. He had shaken her faith in him during the fire when he ran out on them. It had shattered when the raven-haired boy had so brutally insulted someone who should have been seen as an equal. But he was the academy. The future lay elsewhere and the people in it were giving her a chance to let the past remain in the past. I would like that. Thank you both. Naruto walked slowly towards the Hokage Tower. This early in the morning there were few civilians out on the streets. Most ignored the young blonde as he strolled, but a few actually greeted him. Surprised, he would say hello in return. Even after a year, it perked him up that some people were beginning to warm up to him as a person. He signed in at the Chunin guarding the door of the Hokage's office since he had never been there before as an official ninja. The guard opened the outside door and pointed to a small waiting area where he saw Hinata and Sakura already sitting. A secretary sat near the inner door and nodded to Naruto and went back to her sorting through papers. Hinata smiled up at Naruto and Sakura just sat quietly. Both girls kept their silence, so Naruto did as well. He was nervous enough as it was and he figured the girls were quiet for the same reason. A few minutes after 8, the inner door opened and the 3 genin were called into the Hokage's office. Sarutobi sat behind his desk and 3 people stood off to one side. Naruto glanced over at the people. An old guy with long white hair who looked more like a kabuki actor than a ninja. A long-haired, large-busted blonde woman who looked to be in her mid-20s, but something in her eyes said that was a lie. She looked too experienced for her apparent age. Her simple clothing was in a peasant style, but from the materials used, he guessed that was more for comfort than lack of funds. The third person was a purple-haired woman in an open trench coat. She had her arms folded and a haughty look about her. Through the open coat he could see a chain-mail shirt that had to have been custom-made to give the appearance of being skin-tight. It gave the illusion of her being exposed while at the same time, no skin at all was visible from her neck to mid-thigh where the mail ended. A leather skirt over her hips and shin guards completed the outfit. At first it seemed a trashy look, but Naruto saw it was one that was calculated and would allow her to get in a first strike while most males were being distracted by it. Sarutobi noticed all 3 genin looking over the teachers and noted all the youngsters sizing up the instructors. He cleared his throat to get the youngsters' attention. Please take a seat and we will get this meeting started. I am glad you are all on time and we can get down to business. Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, I want to introduce you all to your teachers, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Anko. You might recall that Jiraiya and Tsunade are 2 of the Sannin of Konoha. Anko is the former apprentice to the other member. They are here to be your teachers for the next few years. The genin had known this from the announcement by Irika the day before, but hearing it from the Hokage made it all too real. In the beginning, each of you will be trained by one of them as apprentices. Later on will be teamwork and cross-training between teachers. Right now I just want to have each instructor tell you what is expected and to know of the hardships this training is going to place on you. Then I will want to know from each of you if you think you can accept the challenge being laid before you. Jiraiya, you first. Jiraiya stepped forward. I am Jiraiya. The Toad Sage of MT. He was about to continue on in his introduction dance, but Tsunade hit him from behind. Just the basics, you baka, she snarled. Jiraiya rubbed his head and got up. I will be Naruto's primary instructor. I will focus on ninjutsu and making Naruto the heavy hitter of the group. After initial training of each of you, I will handle the duties of being the team overall sensei during missions until you all reach Jonin rank. Tsunade stepped up next. I will be training you, Haruno, in the art of being a first-class combat medic Nin. When I am done with you, I plan on you being not a person who hides from enemies but one who can take care of herself in battle. In time, I plan on having you being equal to the task of any Jonin-level mission as well as being a first-rate doctor. Anko was suddenly behind Hinata crooning in her ear. I get you, little Hyuga. I plan on having you becoming a silent but deadly killer of your enemies. Together, we will modify your family's style to suit your talents, and make enemies remember why they should fear a Hyuga in battle all over again. Anko was back in line with Jiraiya and Tsunade before Hinata could even shudder. No one had even seen how she had moved so fast. Sarutobi chuckled at Anko's antics before getting serious again. All three of you are part of a plan to help Konoha over the next few years. If you think something is not going right or are having doubts about what is happening, please bring them up to an instructor or myself. The daimyo himself is aware of this training program and is focusing a keen eye on it. I have faith that all three of you can fulfill all things expected of you. That is why you were selected for this. Now I will leave you to your teachers. Seeing Sarutobi was finished, Jiraiya addressed the kids. Any questions right now? Naruto, Hinata and Sakura were all too shocked at the moment to do more than shake their heads no. Good, I want all three of you to be at Training Field 16 tomorrow morning at this time for PT. If anyone is late, all three pay the price. You are a team now and all punishments will be given as a team when merited, Jiraiya said. Now, Shu. We have a few more things to discuss with the Hokage. The newly minted genin filed out and Sarutobi looked over the trio of instructors. I know this will be a tough assignment for all of you, particularly for you, Anko. The choice of each of you is a calculated move. I do not want clones of the Sannin here. I want an improved model. Each student will be strong in their specific assignment, but I want a lot of cross-training and teamwork in their training. Anko, I want you to focus less on what and how Orochimaru taught you and more on what you feel you should have learned as his apprentice. Jiraiya, make sure the others learn ninjutsu to supplement their training and have potential for surprising enemies. Tsunade, I want all of them able to do first aid in case one or more fall in battle. Make them a team in every sense, not merely a trio of strong individuals. I know my duties here, Sensei Tsunade grumbled. That is why I said I want Haruno to be a strong jonin as well as a superior medic and doctor. Sarutobi nodded. This is where things would get difficult. His plan was out in the open and all he could do now was wait, while others picked it up. He hoped the seeds he found would blossom into something grand. Naruto and Hinata led Sakura to their secret hideout. Their lunch yesterday had gone well. The pink-haired girl seemed sincere in her desire to be friends and work with the pair. Hinata trusted Naruto's opinion in that as he seemed to be the better judge of character. Wow, you guys really have a great lair. So this is where all the pranks I heard about got cooked up? Sakura asked. You do realize that no one had any idea that this place was even around here. Academy kids would try to find the lair of the prankster by following you, Naruto, but you always shook them off. Not even Kiba could track down this place. Sakura was walking around while going on with her minor bout of fangirl gushing. She came across the main map of Konoha the pranksters had made. It was lying open on the table with each part labeled carefully in neat writing. Important places were referenced by number to a smaller scroll on the shelves nearby for details about that compound or building. Escape routes that avoided normal patrol paths in the village were clearly marked. You really put a lot of planning into that stuff, I guess. I never knew that pranking could be such a job in itself. Yeah, it was a lot of work at first, but once we got all the information gathered it was a lot easier, Naruto bragged. Hinata-chan here really helped me organize things. She's great at it. The stuff would never have been as successful without her. Hinata blushed slightly at the praise. It warmed her heart that Naruto thought so highly of her and was now even comfortable enough to call her Chan in public. The pair had been calling the other Chunin, Chan in private for months. But after an embarrassing moment near her father, Naruto and Hinata both had stopped using the familiar endearment in public. However, Hayashi still teased her gently about it. He claimed it was the duty of a father to do so, but the twinkle in his eye while doing it showed he was not meaning to be malicious. Your map here is better than any I have seen in the academy. I think you have all of Konoha on here. Actually, there's a large underground complex near the mountain that we have no idea about. Naruto pointed to a series of marks on the map that indicated doorways and hidden entrances. That whole place is something we have no clue about. The old man says it is a dangerous classified area and we shouldn't pry into it. He was really serious when he warned me too. I have never seen him like that, so I avoid the place. We make sure none of our normal escape routes go near it. Hinata stood off to the side watching Naruto tell Sakura about the pranks they had done over the past year. She had not really been sure about letting anyone else into the hideout. It was their place, their sanctuary. In here she could say anything. She could express her opinion without having to worry about being put down or ridiculed for it. Naruto always listened to her advice and would never tear it apart. He would not always agree with her and sometimes tell her no, but always in a kind way. She needed that comfort right now to get out what was bothering her. Hinata spoke up to interrupt Naruto's latest tale. We have other things to worry about, Naruto. We didn't come here for prank stuff. We came here to talk away from everyone. Hinata blushed slightly at being so brash, but she kept going. Anko-sensei scares me. She wants me to be someone that strikes fear into opponents. I don't know if I can do that. Hinata looked down, blushed and bit at her lip after she finished. Naruto was not sure what to do. He had not seen Hinata this shy and unsure in a long time. He stepped up close to her and lifted her chin gently to look in her eyes. Don't worry, Hinata-chan. I believe in you. If the old man thinks you can do this, then you can. I'm scared too. I bet Sakura is as well, but none of us can let that stop us. We just do the best we can and go from there. He then gave her a small honest smile that few people ever got to see. Hinata smiled weakly as Naruto smiled at her. She leaned forward and gave Naruto a quick hug before she realized what she had done. Then she released him with a mild squeak as she remembered they were not alone just then. Sakura noted the moment between the pair and had been quite blatantly begun looking at the map with her back to them. After hearing the squeak, she turned and spoke up, "Are you guys hungry yet? It is gonna be lunchtime soon and I miss my breakfast. Say, Naruto, why don't you go get us some takeout and bring it back here?" Sakura practically dragged Naruto to the doorway. "Me and Hinata can just sit here and wait for you to get back. I am sure we could both go with something from that Chinese place near the academy. But I'm not sure they are even open yet, and it's all the way on the other side of town," Naruto stammered. "Then you just wait for them to open and bring it here after that." Sakura gave Naruto a seriously scary look. "Don't worry about us, we'll just be waiting here and be having girl talk." Naruto gulped slightly and nodded. He realized now that trying to stay would be a health hazard, so he made a quick escape. A few quiet minutes passed as Hinata just kind of stood there while Sakura looked around the room. "I can sort of see why you like him, Hinata. Most boys would have just been scared stupid instead of trying to make you feel better." Hinata looked at Sakura wide-eyed. "Don't worry, Hinata. I'm not going to try to steal him away from you. I might have given up on Sasuke, but Naruto is definitely not my type. He was right on one thing. I'm scared too. Tsunade said she wants to make me into a medic and doctor. I hadn't even thought that far ahead into my future. I was just planning on being a ninja to protect people and make a living. My dad had tried when the war was going on, but he couldn't even get into the academy." Sakura stopped again and looked at the mission clothes and masks stored on one shelf and had a thought. "Naruto said you went on some of the pranks with him. It must have been scary to have gone with him on those." "It was not really that scary. We planned things out ahead of time, and if it looked like we couldn't do it, we would back off." Hinata walked over to the masks and picked up her rabbit one. "But you must have gotten almost caught a few times. I would think that would be terrifying." "One time we almost did. We were trying to get into one clan compound, and they had changed their security the same night we went in. We got stuck waiting in a ditch for about a half hour before we could pull it off." Hinata stroked the ceramic of the mask before continuing in a soft voice. "I was anxious but no scared. It's funny, but when I put on the mask, it's like I am not Hinata anymore. With it on, I am Rabbit. I am confident and sure of myself because people would only get to see the mask, and not who is under it. Rabbit has no reason to be scared. So all we need to do is put on a mask of sorts. Like Naruto does when he is not around you. He is a caring, sensitive guy to you, but he only lets other people see the loud prankster. That must be the secret of the 25th rule. A ninja must never show emotion. The mask is being the person we need to be for the mission, and we keep what we really are hidden away where it is safe." Hinata smiled a bit before placing the mask back on the shelf. "It's just that I need to learn to do it without having a real mask on my face." "Thank you, Sakura." When Naruto returned with the food, both Hinata and Sakura were chatting like girls always seem to do. He could tell something had changed there, but without more information on it, he just kept his own mask in place and loudly announced his return. The morning sun shone down on Training Field 16. Naruto walked into the area and waved to Hinata, who was sitting on a tree stump. Sakura was off to one side stretching. The sounds of Konoha were muted in the distance by birds and the gurgle of one of the many streams that passed through the ninja village. In the distance, a bell told the hour. "Well, we are on time. I wonder where the old guy is," Naruto wondered. The ground suddenly shook as a tremor knocked all three genin off their feet. They quickly scrambled up and looked around to see where the shock had come from. "That was not natural," Naruto exclaimed. A shadow fell across Naruto as he said this, and Hinata yelled, "Behind you!" and ran off. Naruto looked behind him to see a frog as large as a house coming out of the sky at him. He dove away and rolled into a fighting crouch as the frog landed where he had been standing a moment before. The frog's tongue shot out at Naruto, who dodged again with a roll to his left before jumping further away. He noticed that Hinata and Sakura had both moved away from the frog into the tree line. Hinata dove away from the incoming frog after warning Naruto and activated her Byukigen. She scanned the immediate area for any other dangers. Sakura had run off to the relative safety of the trees like Hinata had, but something else was wrong. The birds were taking flight in a pattern, moving towards Sakura as if fleeing from something else. "Sakura, look out, something is coming at you from behind," Hinata yelled out again. Sakura looked and saw a snake the size of a horse appear from nowhere and tried to swallow her. Focusing chakra into her fist, she punched the snake in the snout hard enough to cause it to stop and give the girl a chance to move. Sakura jumped back out into the clearing but found herself faced with the giant frog. The frog almost grinned as its tongue lashed down at the pink-haired girl. A kunai flashed down into the oncoming tongue as Naruto moved to defend his teammate. A sizzling exploding tag attached to it went off and released a huge cloud of smoke into the clearing. Naruto appeared in the smoke next to Sakura and pulled her with him to land over near Hinata. "Anything else close by?" he asked. "This is not a coincidence that we get attacked just as the hour sounds." "Very good, students. You pass. The voice of Jiraiya boomed into the clearing. The trio looked up to see Jiraiya sitting on the head of the frog in the clearing. The large snake curled around a tree nearby before Anko dropped out of the tree and a smirking Tsunade dusted off her hands as she walked out of the trees from somewhere nearby. What the hell was that, you old coot? That frog could have flattened Hinata! Naruto yelled. That, Gaki, was your final test as Academy students. All instructors are required to give a test of some kind to make a final decision on whether or not to accept the genin into their teaching. Now, all of you, sit down and listen, Jiraiya countered. The team sat and looked at the three instructors standing before them. Your awareness of your surroundings is horrible, Anko began. We were all in the area but none of you noticed us. But Sakura managed to dodge my snake, so I have to pass them as well. You reacted better than I had feared you might to the tremor I caused and were able to avoid the frog from crushing all of you. Too bad. I could have still made the poker tournament in the capital if it had crushed you. Tsunade added, trying to sound uninterested. I guess you pass. You called out and helped one another and not simply looked out for yourself. Jiraiya picked up the commentary again. That means you understand the concept of teamwork, and we will not have to beat it into you. You mean you tried to kill us to see if we could work together? Naruto screamed. Yeah, pretty much. Jiraiya nodded. We had a fairly good idea of what you and Hinata can do. I read over a number of the mission reports on the pranks that you two have done for the Hokage. They show a remarkable amount of teamwork, planning and intelligence-gathering ability for a pair of mere students. Well into Chunin level ability for those skills, but reports do not show how a person reacts under pressure. Pinky, there is the unknown factor of your group. We were already going to be taking the group of you on as students. The Hokage convinced us of that before each of us agreed to this project. She is smart and has excellent chakra control for genin, but not knowing much else about her or how she might work with the rest of you, we got curious. Naruto had kept fuming as Jiraiya went on. So everyone gets tested like this? He finally demanded. No. Jiraiya replied. Each instructor has their own test. Some instructors are stricter than others. A few do not even give real tests and prefer to watch the genin at the exams. The students who fail their instructor's testing are either returned to the academy for a brief teamwork course or drop out altogether as ninja. Kakashi is the harshest one in the bunch. He goes through the bell test on all of his squads and proceeds to fail each one just to avoid being an instructor, Anko said. What is the bell test? Sakura asked Anko. You do not need to know all the specifics on the bell test, but here is the general idea. The bell test is when a team of fresh genin is supposed to get a pair of bells from a jonin to see if they understand the value of teamwork. Usually whoever does worst on it or ends up without a bell gets tied to a post. Jiraiya got tied to the post when he messed up that one with Sensei. Tsunade added in chuckling. He got left there all afternoon. I only ended up on the post because Sensei did not want your father after him. But Kakashi finally had a team pass yesterday, even though I think he let them pass. The Uchiha, Inuzuka and Aburame team managed to get the bells away from him this year. The Inuzuka and Uchiha double-teamed him while the Aburame used his bugs to cut the strings on the bells. The Inuzuka's dog retrieved them, and Uchiha snatched up both for himself. I do not think he intended for his teammates to get them, but since the group showed teamwork, Kakashi passed them. I think some clan leaders wanted him to train the Uchiha alone, but Kakashi could not pass the boy solo. So not counting you three, 21 genin were accepted and passed this time. Most will need a lot of work before testing for Chunin, but this year was not even close to an average year. Considering so many got pulled out of the academy by nervous parents, we were lucky to have 24 new genin. Enough jabbering already. Anko interrupted. We need to get going on these kids and let them know what is going to be happening. Jiraiya nodded. We are making a few modifications to the Hokage's plan. He wants a lot of cross-training done with you kids. You are all advanced in a few areas but weak in many basic ones. Chakra levels and control and many basic abilities, so we are going to be doing a lot more group work than we figured on right away. If you thought the academy was tough, you are not going to like this schedule. 6 days a week in the morning you will report here for physical conditioning and teamwork training. The best way to get better physically is to work at it. Ninja can augment their physical skills with chakra, but having good physical skills before that means they will be even greater when you learn how to do them with shaka. For now, the afternoons will be spent in group teaching sessions. Each of us will have you for 2 days a week. It will also give us instructors some afternoons free to pursue other things. At times, one or more of us might need to leave the village on missions and a different instructor will pick up the slack, or we will have someone cover for us for more specialized training. Any questions? You mentioned 6 days, Jiraiya-sensei. Hinata said. What about the last day of the week? On the last day you rest. Nothing else. That is your day to enjoy yourselves. No training, no workouts, no assigned studying. It is your day to kick back and be kids, Tsunade told them. But what about training? Sakura asked. Rest is as important a part of training as physical activity, Tsunade replied. Bodies need time to recover and all the medical treatments I can give will not prevent that. If you try to get in more training time on your rest day, we will know and you will get dropped from this. Even a training fanatic like Naruto there can burn out if pushed hard enough. Do not think otherwise. Anko added. If you need some time off even on a day we are scheduled to train, tell us. You girls especially should realize on some days you will need to stop and deal with things. It's life, it happens. There will come times when you will not be able to take breaks, and you should be aware of that. On missions or in battle, you cannot call a timeout. You will get prepared for times like that as well, don't worry. What about missions? We're ninja not students anymore. Naruto grumbled. Let us worry about when you get into missions, Gaki. Jiraiya growled back. Right now you moved from being academy students to being apprentices. Apprentices do what they are told like all other genin. But that is enough talk for now. Anko put up a near-feral smile. It is time for torture, training. Had time for training. 5 laps around the area at full speed. Move! The next 2 months seemed to fly by for the team as they got into the routine set up by their instructors. Mornings were spent either under Jiraiya or Anko with physical conditioning. They were run into the ground, then dragged up to their feet to run some more. Calisthenics, weightlifting, swimming, gymnastics and tumbling, sparring, proper movement for taijutsu, weapon skills. The team was pushed harder than they had realized they could be pushed. Sakura was at a disadvantage here as she was the physically weakest. Hinata and Naruto encouraged the girl and helped her get through the workouts by offering emotional support. They all got through it together. Each week, the goals were set higher and tougher. Afternoon group sessions were no easier. Jiraiya worked on chakra control with them. Naruto had the worst control. As Jiraiya had told them early on, all punishments got given as a team. This also applied to rewards as well. For every exercise, the group worked on it together. Hinata and Sakura were extremely good at theirs but pushed Naruto to focus and by doing so, improved his overall control immensely. Meditation for focus. Leaf spinning gave way to tree climbing. It took Naruto several hours of seeing Hinata and Sakura standing high on the trunks encouraging him before he asked what he was doing wrong. Water walking was nearly as difficult for him but Naruto got to laugh when Sakura exhausted herself near the end of one day and sank like a stone. Other days were spent on the basics of sealing and using seals to store items and scrolls. Drawing simple seals on weapons for retrieval via chakra manipulation came next as the genin grew stronger. Anko taught the group teamwork topics. Stealth, planning and tactics were her main focus. Naruto had the advantage here once he realized he had been doing all of that for years in his pranks. Hinata was not much behind Naruto. Sakura added a new dimension to the system Naruto, and Hinata had perfected months before. They needed new formations for things they knew as a pair. In turn, all three needed to learn the duties and each tactical position of a formation since the team never knew exactly which direction an attack would come from and would need to react accordingly. In planning, Sakura shifted the known balance as well. She had a different perspective on things. As a group they looked over every prank that had been done for the Hokage, reevaluated them with Sakura's view on things. She helped them see a few options Naruto and Hinata had never considered. Anko brought all this training into practical usage. She staged exercises against the various defense points in Konoha, which brought up their skills quickly and provided extra training for the Chunin on guard duty. Tsunade had the toughest regimen of all in store for them. She provided basic medical training for all of them. Knowledge of anatomy, chakra pathways, bodily functions, herbology and the uses in medicine both helpful and dangerous, first aid and much more. The book knowledge is where Sakura got to shine. Her photographic memory allowed her to absorb knowledge like a sponge. Hinata was never far behind but poor Naruto had the most trouble. Once Tsunade figured out that Naruto worked best when he could see how things worked as opposed to just reading it, his improvement grew much faster. Her impression of the team grew as they all excelled under her teaching. Her attitude improved as well and she shocked them all one day by giving out compliments instead of scathing remarks. The days off were awkward at first. The girls spent the first days off with family. Naruto was pretty much left to his own devices and ended up eating himself into a ramen stupor or sleeping. Once the girls realized that their teammate was all alone, they began to include him in activities. He got invited out to help the girls shop, i.e. carry the bags. Hinata took him to a movie one time and Sakura asked both to see the museum. They even took time out to work on the city map as they learned things during the week. The team also saw their former classmates on the days off. The other teams were stuck doing many D-rank missions around town. Ino and Sakura spent time trying to update Hinata's wardrobe. Their main purpose was accomplished when they got Hinata to ditch the heavy coat she preferred for a more practical outfit during training. Plain charcoal gray sweatsuits replaced it. Ino switched the purchase for a smaller size when Hinata was distracted and the timid girl had a much more visible shape underneath her workout clothes now. In truth, Ino had tried for 2 sizes too small but Sakura had stopped her at 1. She knew Hinata would never leave the house with skin-tight sweatpants on. Naruto got to spend some time with Choji, Kiba and Shikamaru munching on barbecue and telling tall tales about training to one another. Shino and Sasuke were always invited and Shino would join them on occasion but Sasuke would just sneer and go out to train alone. Kiba embellished the boring D-rank missions very handsomely. To hear him tell it, Tora the daimyo's wife's cat was 6 feet tall with saber teeth and razor-sharp claws. Naruto had no stories to tell in that he had never done a D rank yet. He did however see the cat often during his morning workouts being chased by various genin teams. He passed on information regarding Tora's habits to Kiba and Shikamaru that made that mission a very simple capture for their teams. The downside to all the training work slowly began to grate on Naruto. He wanted to go out on missions. He wanted to learn new jutsu. He was tired of just training and studying that had no purpose at all in his mind. Soon after the 2-month mark, he simply refused to work with Jiraiya on control. I am sick of this, Jiraiya-sensei. I do all the exercises you want, but we never do anything. I want to learn more jutsu. Not learning anything, huh? Well then, smart guy, I have a task for you. I want you to make me one clone. That's it, a single perfect clone. Bet you can't, Jiraiya taunted. Fine. Naruto made the hand signs and a single clone poofed into being. There. You see. Then as Jiraiya laughed, Naruto yelled at him in stereo. What are you laughing at now? Hinata answered as Jiraiya just kept laughing. Naruto, you just made a single clone and you did not even have to focus on it. She grinned at Naruto as she understood why Jiraiya was laughing. In under a second, you controlled your chakra enough to make a single clone. It would have taken you a minute of focus back at the academy. Way to go, Naruto, Sakura cheered. Naruto stopped as if poleaxed. He had just controlled his chakra that well without even realizing it. He tried to act cool to hide his embarrassment over it. Well, he still could teach us some new jutsu to make use of all this control. Hinata and Sakura just looked at each other for a second before pouncing on the pouting boy and tickling him until he gave up on trying to be grumpy over it. Jiraiya met with Anko and Tsunade that night. They are ready for the next stage, he told them. 3 teachers looked at 3 students and said the same thing. It's all about control. Tsunade said it to Sakura as the girl stood over a fish. The girl was focusing her chakra into the fish to keep it alive out of water. The body does not normally produce healing chakra. When you generate healing chakra, it is all based on chakra manipulation. Some ninja manipulate it into elemental power, but medic ninja use it to supercharge the natural healing in their patients. Done correctly, the process will heal the person. But if you do it wrong, your patient could die. I don't want anyone to die, Tsunade-sensei. The girl was fighting for control of her chakra as her attention was being intentionally split by her teacher. Nothing she had learned in the past had been as difficult as this exercise. Bruises and cuts were child's play compared to keeping something else alive solely through her ability to control the flow of healing chakra. The body of the person you are trying to heal will resist you. Its own chakra does not want to be pushed aside. You need to constantly keep focus on your goal when healing. You need to keep the healing chakra flowing at a constant rate against an inconsistent resistance. You try to force it, and you will flood the system and cause more damage. If you use too little, the patient will deteriorate and in this exercise die. Sakura struggled as the fish jerked around under her hands. She had to keep the chakra flowing into the fish for the healing to work and pull in oxygen to the water she was holding on the fish's gills. It still took a lot of concentration to hold a fist-sized ball of water. The skills learned from water walking kept the surface tension high enough to make the mass of water solid enough to hold. The skills learned from tree climbing kept the mass attached to her hand. Then she had to push the healing chakra through the water ball into the fish. Once the healing chakra got into the fish, she had to make sure it did not overwhelm the natural flow inside the fish. Too much and the flow would be stopped. Too little and the healing flow would not do its job. It took precise control. She had always had that. Here was where she needed all that skill. Every lesson so far led to this point. One lesson being important to the next lesson, and it all meant using that control. The timer Tsunade had set up clicked along. She was not even sure how much time was passing. The fish and keeping it alive was all she could focus on right now. She could feel her own chakra reserves draining down. She would need to stop soon, but she would not fail either. Chakra took a combination of physical and spiritual energy. It responded to her will. Today, her will was adamant, and her chakra responded. Time, Tsunade said. Well done, Sakura. Sakura relaxed slightly and kicked the leg of the collapsible table. The table tilted and allowed the 10-pound fish to slide into the holding tank. She was tired and wanted to stop, but the assignment was not over yet. She lifted the table back into position and rolled up the scrolls that aided her. When everything was in position, she turned and faced her teacher. You kept the test subject alive for a half-hour outside of its natural environment. It seems to have no obvious ill effects, but we will follow up on it in a few hours. You pass your first exam, Sakura. Sakura felt like jumping up and down. Inside she was, but outside she just bowed to her teacher and took the time given to rest before the next exam. Hinata listened intently to Anko as the Jonin spoke on control. You must maintain control of a fight. Not just of yourself, but of the overall situation when possible. If you are forced to react to your opponent, then they have the initiative and control what will happen. There are several ways to get that control. One way is to have intimidation on your side. You can simply be so scary that people will automatically shift to a defensive posture upon seeing you. That is one that I cultivate, and so do most Hyuga. A second method is to have a serious reputation working for you. The Sannin, copycat Kakashi, the Professor Sandame Hokage, the Yellow Flash Yandame Hokage. Those people are the most recent in Konoha to have a well-known working reputation. By them any of them just showing up, the enemy was already at a mental disadvantage. The most effective way is to simply go into battle and overpower your opponent. This will give you either one of the first two later on. Going in and just destroying the opposition through brute force has won more battles than anything else in the world. Anko looked down at Hinata. You, little one, have none of those things working for you yet. What we need to do is work on with you is controlling yourself. We work on making your movements as controlled as possible, the best effect for the least effort. Anko paused to throw a kunai knife at Hinata's head. Hinata bent her entire body and twisted to the side to avoid the thrown dagger. Good, you avoided that one knife, but you lacked control in doing so. You wasted a lot of movement, and in doing so allowed me to take all initiative away from you. If I wanted to, I could have you dancing around avoiding kunai all day. You already instinctively know a better way and have demonstrated it once. The day you protected your family and took down that team of Chunin, you were at a disadvantage. However, you found a way to turn it around and take control of things without thinking about it. You played off their thought that you were weak and took down one by surprise. Then you moved and again took the second by surprise with a move no one thought you could do. The last one, you took down by taking best path to victory. You took a minor hit in order to get inside his defense and kill him. So, why did you take that hit? If I had let him force me back, he would have left with my sister. It was the only option I could see to prevent that, Hinata said. Exactly, you would have let him take control of things if you had reacted in any other fashion. That is why you defeated him. If you had more experience, you would have seen a way to avoid taking damage, but for a novice you had done quite well. Now back to the dagger. If you wanted to avoid it, simply move your head and torso, not your whole body. You need to flow smoothly in your actions. You need to be like water. I know Hyuga Taijutsu is based on standing firm and blocking attacks, but you are not built for that sort of taijutsu. You need something else. Something that is unique but also distinctly Hyuga. Water can tear down mountain. It carves great canyons into the earth. It corrodes metals and douses fires. It keeps air from lungs and drowns people. Water flows up to the things that impede it. It presses against them, finds a weak spot and exploits that. That is the point we bring in what you have. Hyuga Gentle Fist exploits the weak spots. Your taijutsu disrupt the chakra that flows in your enemies and cuts that off. Your current problem, Hinata, is that you cannot get to those points against large, stronger opponents. This brings us back to control. You control your movements and you control where you can go with them. You can fight at a distance with ninjutsu or bring the fight to arm's length and use taijutsu. The best way right now to control your movements is to learn to not get hit with a minimum of effort. Now dodge my kunai without moving your feet from where they are. Anko jumped back and threw a new kunai at Hinata. Hinata twisted to one side and avoided it. Before she could turn back, a second one cut into her jacket. Do not take your eyes from your opponent, Hinata. If you do, you can die. More knives flew at Hinata after that. By the end of the session, Hinata was bleeding slightly from many small cuts, and her jacket was shredded beyond repair. She was not as tired as she had expected she might be, but all the physical training she had been through the past 2 months had done wonders for her endurance. Anko said she was pleased with Hinata's workout, and Hinata felt much better in spite of her cuts. The next teaching session with Anko, Hinata found herself going to a tea house. Inside, Anko sat waiting patiently as Hinata got dressed in the formal robes that were waiting for her. Today is another lesson about control. This one is actually one of my favorites. It might not seem like it, but tea ceremony is about nothing but control. All the movements you make must be smooth, controlled, and precise. To be perfect at it, you must have focus and grace. Hinata smiled slightly. She had not thought her wild teacher had such love for tea ceremony. Hinata had enjoyed learning of it with her mother many years before but had fallen out of practice. It was one sign of being a lady was one thing her mother had always told her. A woman who can do tea ceremony flawlessly, no matter what their rank or birth, will always be seen as a lady. Hinata sat as her teacher went through the entire ceremony once. The girl admired the grace of the woman in front of her. Then she had to do it as well. Hinata seemed clumsier than Anko in her motions but was able to get through it. It will take you a lot of practice to be able to learn it flawlessly, Hinata. But it is more than just the motions involved. Just like in combat, you must have the necessary confidence in yourself to be able to perform. Without that confidence, anything you do will seem clumsy. With it, you could perform the ceremony perfectly before a daimyo with the lives of your loved ones on the line and succeed. Jiraiya stared down at Naruto. Everything you need to succeed as a ninja you already should know. Everything else I could teach you just makes that easier. All it takes is controlling yourself. A good portion of that is knowing who and what you are, your strengths and your limitations. Your problem right now is you are very unaware of what your limitations are. I am going to be Hokage one day, Jiraiya-sensei. I'm only just a genin right now. That is the only limitation I see, Naruto said and grumped slightly when Jiraiya laughed. Oh, you are going to be Hokage, huh? Well, listen up, Gaki. If you keep going around like that, all you are going to be is dead. You are arrogant, and if you go up against an opponent who used their brains, you would be down in seconds, Jiraiya taunted. I am able to keep away from ANBU. They can't touch me when I try to escape from them. They can't touch you because they were under orders not to harm you. If they came at you with intent to kill, you would be on a slab in the morgue. Stop overestimating yourself. You are not that good. Naruto growled and jumped at Jiraiya, who simply stepped to the side and slammed a fist into Naruto's solar plexus. You see? Mere seconds to lay you out. Naruto tried to catch his breath and muttered out, no fair, you cheated. Jiraiya laughed again. Boy, being a ninja is all about cheating. From the moment you began to move, I had you beaten because I controlled it all. I got you to react to my taunts, and as soon as you did, you already had lost. When you did your pranks, you had control. When you were fighting the Uchiha, you had control until you let it slip away. You had him beaten. Don't you realize that? You had him stone cold beaten and you let him win. You lost control. Naruto shouted. I didn't lose anything. Naruto stopped as he got what Jiraiya was telling him. Sasuke had been barely able to stand after using his fireball technique. He had just stood there and let the team get in a free shot. Ah, so realization dawns. So, Gaki, why again did the Uchiha win? I was there watching it, so I know. You were the only person to ever hit him in an academy match. He was frustrated and tired. You were in total control of the battle. So, why did you lose? Naruto looked down and quietly muttered, because I froze up. Jiraiya nodded yes, because you froze up when he shot that fireball at you. You reacted correctly by getting out of the way before it came out. If you had not, you would have gotten roasted when you froze. He took advantage of a limitation that neither one of you knew about, and he won. Next question, how do we remove that limitation? Word of you being afraid of fire is something that would get around quickly in our line of work. You would never make Hokage with that kind of problem, Jiraiya told Naruto. Naruto seemed down after hearing that. So what can I do, Jiraiya-sensei? We just have to train you to get over your fear. We cannot get rid of it entirely, but we can get you not react to it so much. Go get your camping gear, we are sleeping out here tonight. After dark, Naruto sat on a sleeping bag while Jiraiya built up a large campfire. Naruto sat well back from it while Jiraiya stoked it. Come a bit closer, Naruto, it will not hurt you, Jiraiya told him. Move as close as you can to it. Naruto gulped slightly but moved to about 5 feet away and sat down. The flames climbed into the night as Jiraiya poked at the fire. Fire is an old thing, Naruto. Fire was around before people began using it, and will still be around long after people are gone from the world. It is a simple force of nature. It is natural to respect and fear it. He sat in silence for a few more minutes and watched Naruto. The boy was nervously looking at the dancing flames. Jiraiya looked off to the other side of the fire, and gestured with a slight motion of his head. The flames suddenly surged and shot upward about 20 feet high. Naruto screamed and Crab crawled back from the fire. What the heck was that? The boy shouted. Jiraiya pointed at a small orange frog illuminated by the higher flames. That was just Gamakichi spitting oil into the fire. That is his job tonight. I told him we are working on your fear of fire tonight, and he volunteered to help us out. Yo, said Gamakichi and waved one webbed foot. He was trying to roast me. Naruto cried out and pointed at the small frog. Nonsense, he was just making the fire a bit bigger for a few seconds. See? It's already back to normal. Come back to where you were sitting, Naruto. Naruto began to edge his way back to his previous seat when Gamakichi spat oil into the fire again. The flames leapt into the night once more. Naruto stopped moving forward. Jiraiya stood and walked over to Naruto and squatted down to the boy. He spoke in quiet, even tones. Naruto, there will be times in your ninja career that you will need to face fire jutsu. There are times when doing so you will get hurt and likely get burnt. This little exercise will not get you over your fear of fire tonight, or the next time we do it. But you will need to face your fears and work on getting past them. All I can do is give you the chance to do it at your pace. I believe that you are able to do this. So does Hinata, Sakura, and the Hokage. But in the end, the choice needs to be yours. You have to need to want to get past your fear. Simply get as close as you can until you feel uncomfortable, then just relax until you can move closer. Jiraiya went back to his seat at the edge of the fire. He had to let Naruto make his way close to the flames by his own choice. If he could get closer on his own, the battle over his fear was halfway won. After about a half hour, Naruto was back to about 5 feet away, even with Gamakichi spitting oil into the flames at odd intervals. Jiraiya decided that was a good enough start for tonight, and he should get on to his next step. Getting Naruto to stop worrying about the flames and react somewhat normally around them. Since you are close enough to the fire to read, you can read to me. I brought a fascinating book. Does it have great jutsu in it, Jiraiya-sensei? Naruto got all excited thinking about learning a new jutsu. No, something even better than jutsu, Jiraiya said. There is nothing better than jutsu, Naruto argued. There is a lot more to life than jutsu, Naruto. I am not just a great ninja. I will have you know I am a renowned author as well as a popular man with the ladies on top of being a Sannin and Toad sage. Jiraiya moved back up close to the fire and pulled out an orange book. You can write? Naruto looked skeptical but moved closer to be able to see the book and took it from his teacher. Kagome reached down to take hold of this as a perverted book. Naruto screamed at Jiraiya before throwing the book into the fire. Jiraiya reached for the book but Gamakichi took that moment to spit some oil into the flames and the book flared to ashes in seconds. Jiraiya looked at the flames in tears. That was a limited run beta edition of original Ica Ica Paradise, signed by me. It was priceless. Priceless my butt. You're nothing but a pervert trying to get a kid to read stuff like that, just a pervy sensei. Or a pervy sage. I did not think he would react that poorly to my book, Jiraiya thought as Naruto kept muttering all about how perverts should be shunned. I saw the way he was looking at Hinata in those training clothes and figured he was ready for something like that. Now I need to shut him up about it before he tells Tsunade, or she is going to pound me into the ground. You know, Naruto. If you keep this little episode quiet, I might be able to teach you a really cool jutsu that few people in the village are capable of doing. Jiraiya could see Naruto start drooling at the offer. Hook, line and sinker, mwahahaha. Really, pervy sage? What is it? First, never call me that, and second, it is called the Kagebunshin, the shadow clone. 3 ninja chased their quarry through the brush and out into an open field. In a flash of chakra smoke, the fleeing enemy was surrounded by a horde of blonde-haired ninja. The orange highlights on the black clothing gleamed in the sunlight as all the blondes converged on the target. The cornered prey readied its weapons, as it knew it was caught. It would not go down without a fight. Death would be preferable to returning to that hell prison and its warden. It had been able to escape many times, but it had been always caught and returned. One of the blonde hunters was in striking range. The weapon struck outward in a vain attempt to regain freedom. OWWW, that cat has sharp claws. It feels like they were dipped in acid or something, Naruto complained. Now I know why Kiba claims it was so tough. Maybe it is not just a plain old cat like people claim. Hinata giggled as she carried the captured Tora back toward the Hokage's office. The cat seemed to like her for some reason as it purred in a contented fashion. Sakura had looked over the scratches Naruto received and pronounced them as not serious, and that he should quit whining so much. You should have used your shadow clones to make the capture, Naruto. I did, but that demon cat destroyed 3 of them before I could get my real hands on it. I even know where it tore into the clones. I know Jiraiya-sensei said I would learn whatever the clones do, but I didn't think I would feel like that. It feels like I was in 2 places at once if I think about it too hard. Anko looked over the Genin team as they all walked toward the tower. The feeling you get from it is one reason why so few Jonin like using that technique, even if more know it than will admit to it. Without your stamina and insane chakra levels, you would not be able to use more than a few at once. Still, the cat does seem a little meaner its grandfather. I had to catch that one at least a dozen times. I should have let my snake summons eat it back then, and saved generations of Genin this mission. Anko slowed a bit to watch the team from behind. They were coming along nicely. 3 months of intensive physical training had left all 3 Genin in near peak shape for their age. Their endurance and chakra levels outmatched some Chunin teams. The teamwork training had gone equally as beneficial as they functioned as a unit more often than not. The individual training was showing good results as well. Sakura's progress was making Tsunade glad she had come back to Konoha. The girl simply was amazing in her control, and with the physical training increasing her chakra capacity daily, Sakura would soon be approaching Shizen's overall level of power even if overall knowledge lagged by over a decade. Hinata was coming along nicely as well. She was still raw in terms of her developing taijutsu style. Finding a properly balanced feel for it was very tricky for Anko. Anko had wanted to teach the girl a lot more of her personal style. Since that was learned from the trader, Anko knew it would not go over well with the Hyuga or the village in general. Hayashi had said straight out that he would remove Hinata if Anko tried to make his daughter into her clone in the manner Guy had done with Rock Lee. The few snake-based jutsu the two were incorporating into the new water-style gentle fist style were going to be quite a shock for opponents when used. Naruto was a puzzle. In overall knowledge, the girls made Naruto seem slow until all 3 teachers realized the boy had never really learned a lot of basic things in his youth. Social skills that most took for granted were things he had never learned because they all had family and friends to teach them. The boy was crude and rarely took the time to groom himself past washing up every day. At first, he would belch and pass gas like they were the funniest things in the world, then laugh like he was a toddler. The girls had him whipped really quickly in regard to appropriate behavior near them. Sakura got mean and scary to him, but he took that in stride. However, when Hinata gave him a sad look after he put out a monster belch at lunch, he blushed down to his neck and apologized in a very contrite voice. When he made a mistake and disappointed someone who was kind to him, He felt deeply ashamed and regretted his actions. Naruto had only a few people who looked out for him until the past year or so. Until he made himself into a hero, a good portion of the village had simply pretended he did not exist. His lack of manners had been another way to draw attention to himself. Few had been overly cruel to the boy, but many had simply ignored him. He did not want to lose those people who cared. The boy has a quick mind. He learns the first time you show him something. He could read things multiple times and never get it. He could have it explained to him, and he had a better chance of learning. But show him something, then have him go back and read about it. He had perfect comprehension. Jiraiya said the boy learned shadow clones from him in under an hour. In battlefield tactics, the boy was a genius. In the weeks since learning the shadow clone, he had incorporated it into his fighting style. Shadow clones would scout out ahead of the team and become instant fodder to probe for weaknesses in the training sessions against the teachers or whoever was their opponent for that day. Overall, the team was more than prepared enough for the most boring part of a genin's existence, the D-rank missions. Tsunade pulled rank in the hospital to avoid running the team through this first one. Jiraiya would be handling about half the missions, but he had to deal with informants outside of the village this week. That left Anko to handle the group's first mission as Jonin-sensei. Of course, it would have to be the infamous Tora right off the bat. I really should have let that snake eat its grandfather, she thought once more as she realized she had slowed down enough for the team to notice and stop to wait for her. Sasuke sulked as he noticed Team Apprentice walk toward the Hokage's office with the demon cat. He really should have killed that thing the first time Team 7 had to capture it. Kakashi would not allow it as the owner was a steady source of income to the village genin. He really disliked the forced days off that had been implemented by that advice of that Sannin, Tsunade. He needed to train more, not sit around and get weaker. People like that loser Naruto were starting to pass him up. Ever since the loser got lucky and hit me in the genin exam, people have been giving him praise that should be mine. He has nothing going for him, and he gets a Sannin for a teacher instead of someone from a clan who deserves it. Even the pink-haired harpy was getting stronger while he languished under the barely there training of Kakashi. He did not need teammates to slow him down like this, and team drills were more bothersome than days off. He glared at the team once more before turning his attention back to the jutsu scroll from his family library. At least they could not stop him from learning by reading about new jutsu. Can't they see I have to get stronger? I have to make him pay. No matter what it takes. Sasuke thought as his soul slipped further into darkness. The remainder of Team 7 and all of Team 10 were at that moment enjoying a day at the community pool together. Even Shino had come today. That in itself seemed a reason to celebrate. He remained covered by his coat and sunglasses, but he was with them. Kiba was romping around the pool with Akamaru. Choji practiced doing cannonball dives from the high platform in between bags of chips. Shikamaru watched the clouds roll past, and just shut his eyes when the sun shone down on his face. Ino had tried to gather some attention to herself by wearing a bikini. Her early developing figure got the attention of most of the guys up to about age 15 until some 17-year-old Chunin girls had arrived. All the boys who had been offering to help her with lotion followed the older girls like Akamaru after a free steak. Now bored, she tried to talk about events with her friends. Kiba, didn't you invite Grumpy Face to this little party? Yes, I told him about it. He said he had better things to do. The idiot wants to go out training on his days off. He only works on jutsu and weapons when he is by himself anyhow. Me and Akamaru followed him one day. 4 hours, he kept trying to do some fancy stunt stuff with kunai, and he looked exhausted after. I would try telling him to work on his physical endurance, but he would likely claim I was trying to say he is weak. It's not like he does a whole lot when we do train anyhow. He only does the minimum Kakashi tell us to do on drills and tells us we are wasting his time. I really just want to smack the guy, but he still can beat me in a fight in spite of his attitude. Shino spoke up. The Uchiha could be a great ninja. He prefers to think that strong jutsu and individual effort will always be better than teamwork. It does not make sense. The combined effort of several working together towards a common goal will always be greater than the sum of individual efforts. I know, Shino, Kiba said back. One wolf cannot take down a bear, but a pack can. The thing about him that pisses me off is he never really works as hard at things. He gets it in one attempt and wants to work on something else while we need a bit more effort to get up to the same results. Then he just stands around sulking while Kakashi gets us up to speed on any new training. He never does anything physical while waiting like Kakashi suggests. He doesn't see that he is letting himself stay the same while we get stronger. Then he blames us for holding him back when it's all him. Choji sat down on his deck chair dripping from his latest plunge. Don't just blame him for everything, Kiba. He was not always like this. Back before his clan was killed off, he was a very different person. He smiled and laughed, and enjoyed himself. I know you came into the class after that, so you did not see the same change in him I have. Sometimes you have too big a heart, Choji. Every time we try to be nice and include him like you want, he just throws it back in our face. I know he had a rough time losing his clan and all. That still does not give him the right to be a jerk to everyone, Ino countered as she stole a handful of chips from the bag the plump boy had just opened. It's been years since then, and all he does is keep wallowing in self-pity and talk about revenge. I must get stronger to avenge my clan. Geez, if he says that one more time to me when I invite him to these get-togethers, I am going to possess his moody but dress him up like Naruto used to and let him hang from a light pole. She got quiet as she began munching on the chips. Choji looked at his now half-empty bag and back at Ino before sighing and began eating again. It's time to change the topic. Talking about Sasuke brings everyone down. At least you are not dieting all the time anymore, Ino. Ino paused in her munching. Well, the new physical standards Tsunade-sama got passed for all kunoichi are really high. The day off from training is really nice, but all the stuff we girls have to do now is harsh. I don't even need to diet anymore. I work it all off in sweat. Ino made a face at that. The only upside is it lets me eat more and still keep my hot figure. She paused to pose for a second in front of the boys. The boys all just looked at her clueless for a few seconds in silence before Ino yelled, "Compliments please." The boys stuttered out a few lame compliments before she could hit them. The pair of Chunin kunoichi from earlier strolled by. Ino noticed they were both a head taller and a couple of cup sizes bigger than she was. She looked down at her own chest and sighed before munching on the chips again. Sometimes it sucked to be only 13. Team Apprentice got many D-rank missions over the next month. Naruto wanted to use his shadow clones for them, but the teachers would not let him. Delivery missions at least allowed them to pretend the jobs were important even if they never left the village. Jiraiya tried to make the assignments more interesting by bringing in some training concepts. Gathering leaves could be accomplished by using simple wind jutsu. Repairing damaged training fields was made easier by using low-level earth jutsu to fill in holes or to dig up and replace training logs. Herb gathering became a way to expand the genin's knowledge of plant life. Things were going well until the day the team was assigned the task of trash cleanup at the river below the waterfall. Enko was in charge of the team that day. Jiraiya was supposed to be back from an intelligence trip tomorrow. She had the genin walking out on the water and looking on the bank for rubbish. She kept things lively with the occasional thrown kunai. Naruto generated several shadow clones to retrieve them for her. Naruto would move aside when the kunai came at him, as did Sakura. Hinata would lean her body slightly or just move her head to make the knives miss. Out on the water, it seemed more like she was dancing than avoiding. A clone went to go fetch a kunai that went into the bushes on the far side of the river. It searched around trying to find the kunai when it heard a slight giggle nearby. The clone stood still and in a few minutes another giggle sounded. The clone crept closer to the source and heard the waterfall getting louder. Now it could hear splashing and laughing further out and another giggle close by. The clone used Naruto's stealth jutsu and moved closer still. Peering through a bush, he saw Jiraiya looking out at women playing under the waterfall. "Sensei, aren't you supposed to be out of the village today?" the clone asked. Jiraiya jumped and saw Naruto standing behind him. Crud, how did he find me out here? Jiraiya thought quickly. "Sensei, why are you hiding in the bushes peeping at the women?" The clone's voice kept getting louder as he went on. "It's bad enough that you write those perverted books, but to be peeping on women is disgusting. I need to do research to be able to write my books. Besides, I have seen you checking out Hinata during training. All those shy looks over at her. Bet you have all kinds of perverted thoughts running through that blonde head of yours," Jiraiya retorted. The clone went white-faced for a moment as what Jiraiya said registered before turning a deep red in anger. "I don't think about Hinata like that. I admit she is gorgeous and the closest thing to a princess that I have ever met, but she is my best friend in the world and I don't like her like that." In the silence following the clone's shout, Jiraiya heard a whimper. He turned to see Anko and the genin team. Both Naruto and Hinata were deep crimson. The clone just muttered "oh crud" and dispelled. Hinata looked at the cloud of smoke dispersed then at Naruto. He rubbed the back of his head as he seemed to blush even harder. A tear ran down Hinata's face, followed quickly by several more. She bit her lip before turning and running off sobbing. After a moment, Sakura ran after the fleeing Hyuga. Anko stepped past the genin up to Jiraiya and began beating on him. Naruto just stood there as Hinata fled. His face quickly paled as he looked at the retreating girls, then to Anko beating on Jiraiya. He had no idea what to do now. A small dog ran at top speed towards Konoha. He had left the wave country the night before and with luck he should arrive in Konoha in the late afternoon. Hinata ran off heedless of her destination. All that mattered right now was getting away. Maybe if she ran far enough she could stop hearing what Naruto had said, "I don't like her like that." It kept echoing in her mind. He didn't like her. Her crush and personal hero did not like her. She tripped as tears flooded her eyes at that thought. She rolled to a stop in the middle of a training field, then curled into a fetal position and cried harder. Sakura managed to catch up to Hinata after the heiress fell. She knelt next to the sobbing girl and gently stroked the girl's head as she vented her pain. Sakura was not sure what else to do, so she just sat, feeling that being there for Hinata was all she could do right now. She was confused why Hinata had broken down so badly. They had heard Naruto's clone in the bushes start to shout at someone, something about perverts. Then the even louder shout about gorgeous, princess, and best friend, then ending with "I don't like her like that." Sakura knew she was missing something here but could not place what it was. Apparently Jiraiya had said something to the shadow clone thinking it was the real Naruto, and that upset it somehow. That led to the shouting and finally Hinata running off in tears. Still, just shouting like Naruto's clone had done was pretty damning evidence of something bad going on between them. Sakura recalled how she had felt when Sasuke had finally driven her affections off. It felt like the end of the world. She had gotten through her loss, and she would help Hinata get through hers. Safe to say, Anko was peeved. She had been chasing the pervert for an hour and finally caught up to him when his wounds from his initial beatings slowed him down. First, she had beaten the Sannin unconscious, then she allowed several different snakes bite him. The resulting combination of venom had left Jiraiya unable to move but allowed him to feel everything that was happening to him. After he awoke, Anko took her time to slowly torture the man by shredding his notes and any copy of his books he had with him. Finally, she got mad and talked to him. You do realize your antics might have just destroyed this little team we have been building, Jiraiya? You were not even supposed to be back in town yet, and there you were, peeping at swimming girls. The snakes I sent after Hinata and Sakura tell me that Hinata is pretty much a basket case right now. The ones keeping an eye on Naruto tell me he is still back where we left him with a confused look on his face. You managed in the span of one afternoon to ruin something the Hokage has been trying to make for years. Yes, he has tried to make a team to inspire Konoha before. We ended up with Itachi going nuts and a dead clan. If one of these kids goes bad over this little episode, you will live to regret it. Now, I have to go see if I can salvage my apprentice. Anko dragged the Toad Sage to the hospital and dropped him in front of Tsunade. The slug Sannin just looked from Jiraiya to Anko and back to Jiraiya wanting an explanation, but Anko just turned and leaped away with a look of disgust on her face. Jiraiya knew he was in even bigger trouble now. Sakura had sat with Hinata for a couple of hours now. She had noticed the snakes loitering on the edge of the training field, but they merely sat soaking up sunlight. Well, at least Anko will know where to find us, she thought. Hinata had cried for a time, then had fallen asleep from it. Sakura did not know what else to do for the heiress. Her own strength was now enough to easily carry Hinata home, but she could not bring Hinata back to her clan in this state. Hayashi would go on a rampage if he saw Hinata like this. Sakura sighed and waited for Anko to catch up to them. Shortly after noon, Anko finally came up to the girls. Hinata was still asleep, so Sakura got up and walked over to woman. You had better head to the hospital, Sakura. Tsunade might need a little help with putting Jiraiya back together again. Sakura just nodded and ran off, hoping never to anger the scary Anko. Anko sat next to Hinata and nudged the girl gently. The pearl eyes opened as the sleeping girl woke with a startled jerk. Up and at 'em, little Miss Sunshine. We need to talk about this morning. What was all that about? Hinata looked for a moment, then slowly nodded. She took a deep breath and tried to find her voice. What Naruto-kun said this morning hurt, Anko-sensei. Yeah. Hearing the person you care about most suddenly say he does not like you like that at the top of his lungs might be a problem. Jiraiya was not the most informative source on what happened, Anko chuckled. Hinata nodded and felt the need to just unload everything in her heart. Her sensei had been through pain, so could understand better than most. I love him. But now I am not sure what to think. Before I met Naruto-kun, everything in my life was bad. I was a failure. My father, my cousin and my sister had no respect for me. Nothing I did was good enough for my family. Then the fire happened. Hinata paused to look at the sky while Anko sat next to the girl in silence, letting Hinata speak. I was trapped, and then suddenly he was there, like the hero in a romance arriving at the last moment. He got me free and hurt himself so badly doing it. I woke in the hospital and tried to see him, but I could only sneak in. It was not easy to look at, sensei. His entire back burnt because he was saving me. I had to know why he did this. He did not even know me and he almost died for me. I have seen him often before that day. Everyone in school was awake of Uzumaki Naruto. But no one ever talked to him. Some adults were harsh when they would speak to him, but that was only to warn him away from their children. Most just pretended he did not exist. Even vagrants were acknowledged more often than he was. I was outside his hospital room when he woke up. I heard him telling what happened to the Hokage. I learned why people treated him like he is. But I kept silent about his secret. I never let him know I knew it. I tried to find out why he had saved me, but he got angry with me. He did not like me calling myself weak. For the first time in my life, someone thought I had value as more than a member of my clan. He valued me as Hinata, as myself. In time I could just be myself with him. My father allowed me to be near him, and I was happy. I grew out of the shell I was in and people could see me, all thanks to him. The two people no one would acknowledge suddenly became the two everyone saw. My time with him was a joy, my heart was full, and I thought that he felt the same things I did. Then, hearing what he said this morning, my heart shattered. I felt betrayed. All I could think about was running from that pain, but I could not escape it. Anko nodded slowly. That kind of pain you can never get away from, Hinata. It stays with you for a long time, never fading. For me, it was my sensei. I would have died if he asked me to do so. I loved him that much. But to him, I was just another toy to be played with and eventually discarded. Things are not like that with Naruto. You've heard him say you are his best friend. He does care about you, but I guess not in the way you care about him. The question now is how you deal with it. Hinata, you are a strong girl. I would not be training you if you weren't worth it. When dealing with others, you will have to be shinobi. You cannot break down like this in front of people in the future if you want them to see you as being strong. You have a duty to the village that you need to fulfill, and you cannot simply run away from that duty. As far as Naruto is concerned, you will have to deal with him as well. If he only wants to be friends, you must respect that. Who knows? In time, he may see you as more than simply a friend. I mean, he is a boy after all. They are pretty clueless in matters of the heart. Thunder rolled in the distance and Anko looked at the approaching thunderstorm. Well, I don't know about you, but I do not like sitting out in the rain. She stood and offered a hand to help up Hinata. The younger girl took it and stood. You know, if you were a few years older, Hinata, I would be taking you out on the town to get drunk after all this. We could get wasted and pick on shy guys all night long. My old classmate, Irika, was always fun to tease. I should really look him up one of these days. Hinata blushed crimson at what Anko was implying regarding her old teacher, but no matter what, she could only picture herself and Naruto in the way Anko was talking. Naruto had never willingly stood in the same place for more than a few minutes at any time in his life. Yet here he was hours later in the same spot as he tried to figure out what had happened. The clone dispersing had given him the knowledge of what was said and a little bit of why, but left him confused anyhow. Hinata's reaction was what had scared and confused him so badly. Hadn't the clone said she was gorgeous and like a princess? That he did not have perverted thoughts about her. Yes, he had noticed the way she looked in her new training clothes. Seeing her in them had given him stomach butterflies and other different feelings, but he would never have perverted thoughts about her. She was a princess. She was also the only true friend he had ever had. But that did not explain why she had fled crying. The look in her eyes before she left haunted him. It was a look of having been betrayed. He knew somehow he was the cause, but he could not understand why his chest hurt so badly each time that look flashed across his thoughts. Some distant thunder rolled. Naruto looked up to notice the entire afternoon had passed, and he had not strayed more than 3 feet from where he had stood since morning. This was getting him nowhere. Maybe he could talk to the old man or Irika-sensei about this. It certainly was not getting better just standing around. Slowly, Naruto trudged back to the center of the village. The thunderstorm he had heard had closed in quickly, and the rain began falling down on him. Just perfect, he thought. Somehow, I don't think this day can get much worse. Just then, a small dog skidded in the mud as it ran around the corner. It slammed into Naruto's ankles, which made the distracted boy fall over face first into a fresh puddle of water. Naruto pulled his face from the water and looked up to see a pug. It had a leaf headband and a blue vest on. Sorry about that, the dog said as it ran off toward the Hokage tower. Naruto just stared after the vanished dog. I do not think I will make any more comments on how things could not get worse again. Naruto was standing under a hot shower about a half hour later when someone began banging on his door. Muttering under his breath, he grabbed a towel and wrapped it around his waist. The banging continued as he approached the door. What? He shouted to the person banging. Anko's voice came through the door. Naruto, we have a mission. Be at the Hokage's office in 15 minutes. Be ready for a mission out of the village that may last for several weeks. Naruto then heard Anko run off as he turned to gather his equipment. As he was packing extra clothes, he looked down at the orange jumpsuits he normally wore around town and in training. Then he reached deeper into his closet and pulled out a spare set of his mission clothes that his pranks had been done in. It's not time to retire the orange yet, but I get the feeling I might just need the serious outfit this time. He put the all-black suit and mask in the bottom of his bag before putting extra weapons on top of it. Storage scrolls with camping gear and rations stored inside came next. 10 minutes after Anko had been at his door, he was leaving his apartment and headed for the Hokage's office. Minutes later he was in the waiting area along with Sakura and Tsunade. Both females were glaring at him but kept silent. A minute later, Anko came in followed by Hinata. Naruto began to say hi to her but stopped when she went over to the other women and ignored him. Suddenly, Naruto felt quite alone until the group was called into the inner office. Naruto followed all 4 females into the office and found that the instructors had taken both chairs. The dog that had run him down earlier being attended to by an Inuzuka Jonin was occupying the couch. He went to stand next to Hinata but she then moved to the other side of Sakura, leaving him even more puzzled. Before he could do anything else, Sarutobi spoke up. Good, you are all here promptly. Tsunade, Anko, where is Jiraiya? Tsunade looked at Anko who answered, he had an accident after showing up at training today. Snake bites. He should be fine tomorrow. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes a bit at Anko but knew the old pervert's reputation too well to argue the point right now. Fine. Anko, you will have to lead this mission in his place. Circumstances have dictated that we send your team out on a rank B rescue mission to the wave. Team 7 had a rank C escort mission there several days ago, but it has run into a few problems. Sarutobi pointed to the exhausted pug on the couch. Pakin here brought word from Kakashi. The team had arrived in the wave with no trouble but was attacked by 4 ninjas shortly after arrival. It seems someone who was after the bridge builder who hired us hired a squad led by Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the mist. Team 7 won the initial battle and drove off their foes with minor injuries to the genin. However, Kakashi himself suffered a severe case of chakra exhaustion and a broken arm while heavily wounding Zabuza. He overextended himself, summoning Pakin to bring word to us. All teams with greater experience are currently on assignment, so are forced to send this one. I know you have conducted many drills against Chunin level squads, so you should be able to handle this mission. Anko, you and the genin will leave